Chapter 10:15. I'll let it go this time, but don't do it again. Su Xiaoxiao nodded guiltily. She was indeed too impulsive this time. Not only did she send herself to be humiliated, but she also caused Boss to be humiliated and ridiculed. Thinking of this, she suddenly felt very guilty in her heart. Just as she was about to say that she was wrong, she heard Luo Qingtong's voice continue to sound. Wait for me. As soon as Luo Qingtong said this, Su Xiaoxiao's eyes instantly lit up. Yes. She replied loudly, her face full of joy and excitement. It turned out that Boss's words just now weren't to reprimand her, but to prevent her from being bullied again. Su Xiaoxiao's heart immediately became happy. And you guys too. Luo Qingtong looked at Yuanhu and the others. These people went through life and death with her in the Kaiyuan mystic realm, so Luo Qingtong naturally trusted them. She would never allow anyone to bully them. Yes. Yuanhu and the others also responded happily. What about me? Big sister, what about me? Yu Xingqi hugged the little white cat and leaned in front of Luo Qingtong with a face full of anticipation. Don't you have your brother? Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows and looked at her. With her identity, why would she need her protection? Yu Xingqi looked depressed. So angry, I want to sell my stupid brother in exchange for big sister. Every time her stupid brother helped her, he would insult her. How could he be better than big sister? Look at how domineering she is. Yuanhu and the others saw her like this and immediately laughed. Although they hadn't known Yu Xingqi for long, this little loli was very smart and cute. Although she was a little scheming, she only cheated outsiders. Everyone liked her very much. Ling Yu walked over and hugged Yu Xingqi, comforting her with a smile. The group was very happy. At this moment, Yuanhu suddenly said, Boss, what do you plan to do about the Qing Wei group? As soon as his words came out, everyone instantly fell silent. The Qing Wei group had gone too far this time. He called on all the people of the Sacred Academy to boycott Luo Qingtong and the others. Now that the Heavenly Demon group was having a hard time in the Holy Court of the Empire of Qin, they would only become more and more arrogant if they were allowed to do as they pleased. Moreover, Yuanhu and the others' daily training had been disrupted. This would be detrimental to their future growth in strength. Luo Qingtong was about to speak when suddenly, Sima Ju's voice sounded. Boss, it's the Crown Prince and the others. He pointed ahead as he spoke. Everyone raised their heads and saw a group of people standing at the entrance of the courtyard. Their leader was naturally the Crown Prince of the Empire of Qin, Ma Chenyi. The young man was wearing a green gown with white flowers. The white bamboo embroidered on his robe looked indescribably slender and elegant. Paired with his jade-like face, he had an indescribable temperament. Ma Chenyi was here to apologize. He also didn't expect that Mo Yufei would incite the people of Qing Wei group to make trouble. When he found out about this, it was already too late. Luo Qingtong had already confronted the people of Qing Wei group. And Ma Chenyi knew that even if he went to persuade the people of Qing Wei group, it would be useless. This was the holy court of the Empire of Qin. He couldn't use his identity as the Crown Prince to suppress people. Otherwise, Mo Chenxuan's dragon group wouldn't be so arrogant. What's more, the people of Qing Wei group attacked Luo Qingtong precisely because he defended her. If he went to persuade them, the people of Qing Wei group would only become more aggressive. Chapter 10:16. I'm sorry for what happened this time. Ma Chenyi said directly to Luo Qingtong, do you need me to do anything? If necessary, I can use my identity as the Crown Prince to put pressure on the families behind them. Ma Chenyi said simply. Doing so would definitely cause a certain blow to his reputation as the Crown Prince. Moreover, the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin clearly stipulated that students and mentors here were not allowed to use other identities and forces to solve disputes. However, what Luo Qingtong faced this time was all because of him. Ma Chenyi could not ignore it. What was more, he had nothing to lose now. If Mo Chenxian became the Crown Prince, he, as the Crown Prince, could not escape death sooner or later. Whether for morality or his own selfishness, Ma Chunyi would choose to stand on Luo Qingtong's side. No need. Luo Qingtong looked indifferent. Ma Chunyi's reaction made her very satisfied. It was not that she had no means to fight back, but she wanted to see Ma Chunyi's attitude. If he stood on the side of the Qingwei clique and asked her to retreat and apologize, or alienate her, then she would rather use another way to deal with Mo Qinxian than help Ma Chunyi to solve the skill of seizing luck in his body. The medicinal liquid that she had refined before to warm his body could also be thrown away. After all, she did not owe Ma Chunyi anything. Since the latter helped her, she would naturally return the favor. If the latter chose to stay away from her, then when she settled accounts this time, she would naturally use his kindness to offset her fault. Luo Qingtong did not like to owe people favors. But she was not a cheap Virgin Mary. There were many ways to deal with Mo Qinxian. She did not have to help Ma Chunyi. Fortunately, the latter's choice made her very relieved. You just don't help either side, Luo Qingtong said. It was child's play for the Qingwei clique to threaten her with medicinal liquid. If they used other ways to deal with her, it would be more troublesome for her to solve it. Medicinal liquid? Luo Qingtong could easily transfer a large number of potions from the Black Field. She didn't need to be threatened by the other party. However, it would be too boring to solve it like this. What's more, the Saint Academy's matter was settled by the Saint Academy. Luo Qingtong would not break this rule. She naturally had a way to deal with the Qingwei group. All right. Ma Chunyi agreed. Although he didn't know what Luo Qingtong wanted to do, but looking at the way the latter dealt with the dragon group, the Qingwei group shouldn't be able to take advantage of her. This time, the people from the Qingwei group had indeed gone too far. It was good for them to be taught a lesson and suffer some setbacks. As for Qingwei, when she came back, he would have a good talk with her. He believed that this was not her original intention. Ma Chunyi thought and prepared to leave. Luo Qingtong stopped him at this moment. Wait. This is for you, she said and handed over the body-warming medicinal liquid that she had refined in the past few days to Ma Chunyi. Bathe in this medicinal liquid 3 times a day. The interval between baths should not be more than 8 hours. After a month, I will take you to find that person and solve the hidden danger in your body. Luo Qingtong's voice was faint. Ma Chunyi was stunned for a moment, then quickly reacted. You mean? He excitedly clenched the jade bottle in his hand, looking at Luo Qingtong with a face of disbelief. She couldn't be talking about the person he was thinking about, right? This medicinal liquid was refined for him by the evil Dr. Gui Tong. No matter how Ma Chunyi thought about it, the person Luo Qingtong was talking about should be the evil Dr. Gui Tong. Chapter 10:17. The changes in my body are really because of you. Although he had guessed it before, when Luo Qingtong really admitted it, Ma Chunyi still felt a huge surprise in his heart. He did befriend Luo Qingtong because of the hidden danger in his body, but he didn't completely hold out hope. What's more, the girl herself was worthy of his friendship. Unexpectedly, he really made the right bet. Thank you. Ma Chunyi held the jade bottle in his hand and thanked Luo Qingtong with a serious expression. Thank you for helping me. Ma Chunyi didn't know Luo Qingtong's true identity. But he felt that if it weren't for Luo Qingtong speaking up for him, evil Dr. Gui Tong wouldn't have helped him so directly. He originally thought that if there was a chance in the future, he would ask Luo Qingtong to introduce him to evil Dr. Gui Tong, and then he would mention this matter to the latter. But he didn't expect that Luo Qingtong had unknowingly seen through the situation in his body. Not only did she help him prevent the draconic qi in his body from dissipating, but she also asked evil Dr. Gui Tong to help him solve the hidden danger in his body. Ma Chunyi thought that the gift of medicine in the Tianyu Empire was probably the most correct thing he did in his life. Ma Chunyi took the jade bottle and left. Luo Qingtong told him to go back and immediately purchase a large number of medicinal liquids. Although Ma Chunyi didn't understand why, he still agreed. After sending off Ma Chunyi, Luo Qingtong began to prepare for what to do next. At this time, she received a message from the Grand Supreme Dean, asking her to go over. Cough. Evil Dr. Gui Tong. In the dean's office, the Grand Supreme Dean dragged out his voice and called Luo Qingtong. The latter had goosebumps all over her body when she heard his sweet voice. Grand Supreme Dean, what do you want? Just say it. Luo Qingtong really couldn't stand him acting cute in front of her at such an old age. In fact, Little Pig, who was squatting in her sleeve, couldn't help but shiver. Pete was too scary. She wasn't afraid of the elders of the Grand Supreme Institute, but she was afraid of him acting cute. That wrinkled chrysanthemum face was really nothing to look at. It stung the eyes. Cough. The Grand Principal coughed again after hearing Luo Qingtong's straightforward words. He rubbed his hands and said, actually, it's nothing much. It's just about you and the Qing Wei group. Luo Qingtong glanced at him with a faint smile and said, what, you want me to back down and keep the peace? No, no. The Grand Supreme Dean hurriedly shook his head. How could he dare to let Luo Qingtong back down and apologize? This was not her fault in the first place. If he were to really say that, this girl would turn around and leave in a matter of minutes. The Grand Principal had gone through so much trouble to get her to come to the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. How could he do such a thing? Ahem. I just want you to show some mercy. The Grand Supreme Dean rubbed his hands together. In fact, he was also very frustrated. He didn't know if this evil Dr. Gui Tong had a grudge against the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. After he invited her here, he came to her with a lot of trivial things. Needless to say, the matter with Yu Wenma was not a problem. After all, they were engaged. The grudges between them must be solved. Therefore, it was within his expectation that the dragon group would go against Luo Qingtong. Anyway, he supported the Crown Prince's faction. He didn't care if Luo Qingtong went against Imo Chenxian. But what was wrong with the Qing Wei group? The Grand Principal tugged at his beard, feeling that he was simply worrying too much. Chapter 10:18. The Qing Wei group was in the wrong in the first place. You should teach them a lesson. But that girl Yu Qingwei's personality isn't bad. She's also a good person. Her talent and strength are top-notch in the Holy Court of the Empire of Qin. She most likely doesn't know about what happened this time. If you meet her in the future, just treat it as this old man asking you to be lenient. Don't be too ruthless. The Grand Principal said with a bitter face. It wasn't easy to nurture a genius pharmacist. Especially Yu Qingwei. Before he found Luo Qingtong and Su Xiaoxiao, she had always been the trump card of the medicine courtyard. She was the top genius pharmacist of the Holy Court of the Empire of Qin. The Grand Principal naturally didn't want her to fight to the death with Luo Qingtong. So he came to plead for leniency. Luo Qingtong found it funny. She looked at the Grand Principal's wrinkled face and said, don't worry. If she really is the kind of person you say she is, as long as she doesn't take the initiative to provoke me, I won't do anything to her. Luo Qingtong's personality was evil, solitary, and liked to hold grudges. Whoever angered her had to be prepared to be skinned alive. But she wouldn't casually bully others. As long as the other party didn't provoke her for no reason, she definitely wouldn't make a move. But if the other party deliberately provoked her, then sorry, she wouldn't give face to the emperor. Okay. The Grand Principal quickly nodded. Luo Qingtong being able to give him this kind of promise was already very good. He couldn't let her not pursue this matter, right? Not to mention Luo Qingtong, even if he was provoked like this, he wouldn't be willing to let it go. The Grand Principal thought for a while and nodded, that's right. He said to Luo Qingtong, you don't need to worry about that blockhead. He's very good right now. I sent him to do some things for me. When he comes back, his strength will definitely be reborn. Speaking of Chu Lingfeng, the Grand Principal's face turned green. These two master and servant weren't to be trifled with. Luo Qingtong was one thing, but that blockhead was a desperate man. After coming to the holy court of the Empire of Qin, he desperately challenged the students on the rankings. Originally, the Grand Principal and the teachers of the Empire of Qin Holy Court were quite happy to see this situation. Originally, the Great Qin Sacred Academy encouraged students to compete with each other as this would help them temper themselves. But Chu Lingfeng, that blockhead, didn't care about his life when he fought. Not only that, but he also was of the school's challenge, but also the most important thing. Needless to say, if he continued to challenge like this, his strength would indeed increase very quickly. But the other students couldn't take it anymore. They did not have Chu Lingfeng's abnormal physique. Even if they were beaten half to death one day, they would be full of energy the next day. Every time they fought with Chu Lingfeng, they would have to rest for a long time. But if they didn't provoke Chu Lingfeng, he would provoke them. In short, if there was a challenge, they had to go. If there was no challenge, they had to create a challenge. Because of this, the Grand Principal's office was almost trampled to the ground by the students. The Grand Principal had no choice but to send Chu Lingfeng out and let him harm others. First, he could improve his strength. Second, he could vent his anger. It was killing two birds with one stone. Thinking of this, the Grand Supreme Dean laughed secretly. Luo Qingtong nodded. Chapter 1019. However, it was a good thing that he was treated differently by the Grand Dean. The Grand Dean had sharp eyes and knew how to train him. Luo Qingtong wanted to say goodbye to the Grand Dean, so she turned around and went back directly. The Qin Wei group's actions against the Heavenly Demon group were getting more and more intense. After the bet, the Qin Wei group went back and spread the news that anyone who went against the Heavenly Demon group would be able to get their free elixirs. It seemed that they were determined to push Luo Qingtong out of the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. At the same time, at the Dragon Group's base, Mo Qinxian looked at the news in front of him and sneered. Ma Qinyi is going to buy elixirs from the outside? He is going to support Luo Qingtong and her Heavenly Demon group to the end? Mo Qinxuan's face was full of disdain. Luo Qingtong was a woman from an inferior country. Even if she had some talent and strength, it was okay to play with her. Ma Qinyi was crazy to be so protective of her. However, this was exactly what he wanted. Mo Qinxian thought and immediately ordered the people around him, "Let our people buy elixirs from the market immediately. No matter the price, buy all of them." Didn't Ma Qinyi want to help Luo Qingtong? He would let him help as much as he wanted. Mo Qinxian had a good plan. He wanted to buy most of the elixirs from the market before Ma Qinyi did. By then, if Ma Qinyi still wanted to help Luo Qingtong, he would have to buy the elixirs at a high price. By then, he could sell the elixirs he had. He could make a lot of money and use this to annoy Ma Qinyi in the future. Thinking of this, Mo Qinxian burst into laughter. In the Qin Wei group, Luo Iran and Mo Yufei were so angry when they heard this. Brother Crown Prince is so silly. It's all because of that Luo Qingtong who bewitched Brother Crown Prince. Mo Yufei gritted her teeth and said fiercely. Humph, even if your highness wants to help Luo Qingtong, it's only temporary. It was impossible for Luo Qingtong and the others to buy all the medicinal liquids they needed from outside. Let's see how long they can last. Roy said. Ma Qinyi's actions infuriated her. Originally, she thought that since they were targeting Luo Qingtong, the Crown Prince would inevitably alienate her. She didn't expect him to be so protective of her. Princess Yufei was right. Luo Qingtong had to be eliminated. She had actually bewitched the Crown Prince to such an extent. In the eyes of Luo Iran and the rest of the Qin Wei group, only Yu Qingwei was worthy of Ma Qinyi. Of course. I want to see how unlucky Luo Qingtong and the others are. Mo Yufei was very proud. Luo Qingtong and the others couldn't be arrogant this time. Big Brother Xian had already made his move. The matter of Big Brother Crown Prince collecting the medicinal liquid this time would absolutely not go so smoothly. Luo Qingtong and the others would definitely not be able to hold on. They could only wait to be driven out of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. Even if they didn't leave the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin, their days in the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin would be hated by everyone, just like rats crossing the street. This was the result of offending her. Mo Yufei felt very comfortable, as if she could already see the miserable days of Luo Qingtong and the others in the future. She thought of Yu Wenma and decided to tell him the news to make him happy. As for Su Jinhua, Mo Yufei really didn't want to see her disgusting appearance. Mo Yufei thought of this and immediately went to find Yu Wenma. Chapter 10:20. No one knew what she was doing inside. However, Su Xiaoxiao and the rest had been instructed by Luo Qingtong not to act rashly and to wait for her to come out. Therefore, no matter how the Qing Wei group provoked them, Su Xiaoxiao and the rest restrained themselves and ignored them. They believed that when Luo Qingtong came out, she would definitely have a way to solve the Qing Wei group's problem. Boss. A group of people stood guard outside Luo Qingtong's door. At this moment, they heard a creak and Luo Qingtong's door opened. Su Xiaoxiao and the rest turned around in surprise and saw the figure of the young girl who appeared at the door. They cried out in surprise. Luo Qingtong nodded lightly and stepped out. All right, you can go to the Pharmaceutical Institute now. Ah. Everyone looked at Luo Qingtong in surprise. Us? Boss, you're not going? The group looked at Luo Qingtong. Of course I'll go, but not with you. Luo Qingtong said with a smile. She rubbed the waist ring on her finger, which contained her results from the past few days. Today, she was going to break the Qing Wei group's plan and their pride. They wanted to force her to leave the Holy Institute of the Empire of Qin. They weren't qualified. In the resource hall of the Pharmaceutical Institute, a group of students from the Pharmaceutical Institute were busy inside. They were counting the medicinal liquid resources that they had collected and were going to distribute to the students of the Holy Institute of the Empire of Qin. These medicinal liquid resources were all refined by the students of the Pharmaceutical Institute. Among them, there were naturally high and low grades. The high-grade medicinal liquid exclusive to the Heavenly Hall was refined by the best of the students of the Pharmaceutical Institute. Those people were almost all members of the Qing Wei group. The students of the Pharmaceutical Institute in the resource hall were counting as usual. They were counting and chatting at the same time. There's still no Heavenly Demon Group's resources today. Yeah. It seems that the Qing Wei group is really going to kill them all. Without the medicinal liquid, their strength in the Heavenly Palace will soon be surpassed by others. When the time comes, there will be a lot of people waiting to replace them as heaven-grade students. That's right. I think that Luo Qingtong will be forced to withdraw from the Holy Academy. After all, the entire Qing Wei group is against her. This isn't the same as when she dealt with the Dragon Corps. At this time, martial arts won't be of much use. The Qing Wei group isn't afraid either. As long as they don't give the elixirs to the Heavenly Demon group, Luo Qingtong and the others will naturally weaken. Yeah. Someone continued, I heard that His Highness the Crown Prince is preparing to purchase medicinal liquids outside. However, he can only purchase them for a while, but can he continue to purchase them? Furthermore, even His Highness the Crown Prince wouldn't be able to bear such an enormous price, right? Exactly. The group of people gossiped. At this moment, a figure stepped in from the outside. Luo Qingtong's face was covered with a layer of light-colored veil. Her beautiful face was hidden behind the veil, only revealing a pair of eyes. Who's there? The student of the resource hall saw someone enter and immediately said, only students of the Pharmaceutical Institute are allowed to enter. He had never seen this person before. She shouldn't be a student of the Pharmaceutical Institute. However, just as he spoke, Luo Qingtong took out a token from her bosom. I'm a student of the Pharmaceutical Institute. Chapter 10:21. That resource hall student had already clearly seen the token in her hand and immediately cried out involuntarily. The chief's token? He looked at the token in Luo Qingtong's hand in shock. Oh my god, it's the chief's token. The chief's token. Hearing his shout, the other students stopped what they were doing and turned to look at him in unison. What chief's token? Ah, Zheng, don't joke around. This year, our pharmacy also. Oh my God. It really is the chief's token. The group stared at the token in Luo Qingtong's hand in shock. How is this possible? This year's chief hasn't been decided yet. Moreover, even if someone became the chief, shouldn't it be senior sister Yu? As everyone thought of this, their hearts were suddenly filled with an indescribable shock. At this moment, the voice of a student from the pharmaceutical department suddenly rang out. Wait, I remember now. When the semester started in the second half of this year, the grand principal said that our pharmacy has an honorary chief. It can't be her, right? As the student from the pharmaceutical institute spoke, he looked at Luo Qingtong in shock. When the others heard him say this, they instantly thought of this matter. That's right, when the semester started this year, the grand principal did say this. And the grand principal of the pharmacy also silently agreed. At that time, they were still wondering who could make the grand principal and the grand principal of the pharmacy issue such an order. The honorary first seat was truly unheard of. That person had never appeared, and they had all forgotten about it. Oh my God. That person, is it her? Honorary chief? The group stared at Luo Qingtong in shock. But what shocked them even more was what she said next. I want to refine medicinal liquid for the Heavenly Demon Group. Please give me their refining resources. The Heavenly Demon Group? Oh my God. They were just saying that the Heavenly Demon Group would be unlucky, and that Luo Qingtong would be forced to leave the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. They didn't expect to be slapped in the face. This mysterious honorary chief of the pharmacy wanted to refine medicinal liquid for the Heavenly Demon Group. With him around, the Heavenly Demon Group did not have to worry about running out of elixirs. The worst that could happen was that the application would take a little longer. After all, one person's power was limited. Just as they were thinking, they suddenly heard Luo Qingtong take the refining resources they handed over and walk to an empty corner at the side. She said, "Can we use this place?" Everyone was a little confused, but they still nodded. Sure. That corner was empty to begin with. However, as soon as the voice of that student from the resource hall's pharmaceutical department fell. In an instant, they were stunned to see Luo Qingtong wave her hand. In an instant, piles of neatly stacked jade bottles appeared in the empty corner. These are the potions that I prepared for the Heavenly Demon Group. It's for the Heavenly Demon Group. Luo Qingtong's faint voice sounded in the resource hall. This, Chief. The potions that are handed over to the resource hall must be refined within these few days. The group looked at the pile of potions and gulped. There were so many potions, it couldn't be that she had just refined them, right? As they thought of this, they immediately reminded her, also, the potions purchased are not counted. Chapter 1022. In the future, these could be used to exchange for more precious treasures in the Holy Court. Therefore, the requirement must be to refine the elixir by oneself. The resource hall had a special way of checking. A group of people thought that Luo Qingtong was not in the medicine hall before and did not know about these rules, so they specially reminded her. I did refine it. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows and said, it took no more than 3 days to refine. Otherwise, why did she lock herself in the room these few days? Of course, it was for the elixir. The Qin Wei group's plan was not difficult to break. As long as there was someone who was better at refining elixirs than them and could refine better elixirs, the situation that they formed against the Heavenly Demon Group simply did not exist. Without the threat of the elixir, the Qin Wei group's threats were nothing to them. But Luo Qingtong did not only do this. The Qin Wei group used the elixir to threaten her people, intending to force her out of the holy court of the Empire of Qin. If Luo Qingtong did not teach them a lesson, then wouldn't she be letting down those people who were taught a lesson by her in the past? Those people had all been taught a painful lesson. Luo Qingtong thought, and said to the group of resource hall students who were completely stunned by her words, tell everyone who came to the resource hall to get the elixir. If anyone is against the Qing Wei group, I will refine the elixir for them. The elixir that the Qing Wei group refined for them before, I will give them 10% more. Luo Qingtong's words were extremely domineering. The Qing Wei group used the elixir to threaten her? Let those people isolate the heavenly demon group. She wanted them to have a taste of this. In addition, tell the other medicine hall students, if they are willing to refine the elixir for the heavenly demon group, I will give them a free elixir formula. I guarantee that they will be able to refine elixirs that are not inferior to the Qing Wei group members. If Luo Qingtong's first words were a tooth for a tooth, an eye for an eye, then the last words were her counterattack to the Qing Wei group. And it was the kind that hit the bullseye. The people from the Qing Wei group might not care about what she said earlier. After all, as long as they knew how to concoct medicine, and even concoct high-grade medicine, there wouldn't be so many forces coming to deal with them. They would not end up like the heavenly demon group. But Luo Qingtong's words hit them right at their core. Where did the Qing Wei group get the confidence to target the heavenly demon group and drive Luo Qingtong out of the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin? Wasn't it because the outstanding students of the pharmaceutical department were all in their Qing Wei clique? Therefore, they could summon the students of the Empire of Qin to fight against Luo Qingtong and the heavenly demon group. But what if they no longer had this advantage? Who would care about their targeting and orders? Luo Qingtong's move was a drastic one. After that, she left, leaving only one sentence: if you want to find her, go to the heavenly demon group. The group of medicine hall students stared at Luo Qingtong's back as she left. Looking at the pile of elixirs in the corner, they suddenly felt like they were in a dream. Oh my God! In 3 days, she managed to concoct so many elixirs. Her mastery of alchemy had reached the pinnacle. Chapter 1023. Because the process was too complicated, the difficulty of each fusion was too high, and the fusion point was too difficult to grasp. It was easy to fail at the last step. But the other party was able to refine so many medicinal liquids in such a short period of time. They were terrified just thinking about it, all right? They thought that the heavenly demon group would be in big trouble this time. But they did not expect an honorary lead disciple of the pharmaceutical department to appear out of nowhere and turn the tide, destroying the good situation that the Qing Wei group had set up. They could already imagine how much of a threat the Qing Wei group would pose to the heavenly demon group once these medicinal liquids were distributed. Just as they were thinking about it, they suddenly heard a student from the pharmaceutical department who went to check on the medicinal liquids shouting, "Come and see. These medicinal liquids are all of the best quality. The best quality medicinal liquids." That was the medicinal liquids that retained 70 to 80% of their medicinal properties. To be able to refine so many medicinal liquids in such a short period of time and to ensure such high medicinal properties retention, they did not know what to say anymore. The other party had such superb alchemy skills, the Qing Wei group was definitely in big trouble this time. This mysterious honorary lead disciple of the pharmaceutical department was obviously going to stand up for the heavenly demon group. The group thought and looked at each other. Suddenly, a student from the pharmaceutical department shouted, I forgot to ask for her name." The group of people stared at each other. After Su Xiaoxiao and the rest arrived at the pharmaceutical department, they received their medicinal liquids. The members of the heavenly demon group were dumbfounded. Especially when they heard that the person who helped them was the honorary lead disciple of the pharmaceutical department, their eyes widened. They did not know anything about this at all right? But Su Xiaoxiao and the rest who knew about Luo Qingtong's true identity, their eyes lit up. It's the boss. Su Xiaoxiao, Yuanhu, Sima Zhu, and Ling Tianhan looked at each other and mouthed to each other. They knew about Luo Qingtong's identity as the honorary lead disciple of the pharmaceutical department. Especially Su Xiaoxiao, she was so happy that her eyes narrowed. How could she forget about the boss's identity? The person that the grand principal wanted to recruit into the pharmaceutical department was the boss. Su Xiaoxiao scolded herself for her carelessness. Previously, she was still worried that Qing Wei clique's plan would not be easy to break. Luo Qingtong's identity might be exposed. Now that Luo Qingtong had made her move, the situation had taken a complete turn. Boss's identity doesn't need to be exposed, that's great. Everyone was overjoyed. The rest of the Heavenly Evil group were surprised and cheered as well. Although they didn't know how Luo Qingtong and the others knew the mysterious honorary chief of the pharmaceutical department, with the other party on their side, they didn't have to be afraid of the Qing Wei group's threat at all. Boss was simply the best. The group definitely didn't think that it was Su Xiao and the others who contributed to this. The latter and the others were just as worried as they were before. Now that it was solved, it was definitely Luo Qingtong's credit. Who would have thought that Luo Qingtong would actually know that mysterious honorary lead pharmacist? This time, the people from the Qing Wei group were about to die from anger. Serves them right for kicking an iron plate. The group of people from the Heavenly Evil group thought about it and cheered happily. Soon, this news spread throughout the entire holy court of the Empire of Qin. Everyone knew that a mysterious honorary lead disciple had appeared in the pharmaceutical department. Chapter 1024. Moreover, the other party did not seem to want to be the chief disciple. After all, the title of honorary chief disciple meant that the other party did not want to enter the pharmacy, but was forced to accept the title by the grand principal. Even the grand principal of the pharmacy did not object to this matter. It was obvious that the other party's alchemy skills were fully acknowledged by him, so much so that he did not stop the grand principal's absurd actions at all. Everyone's eyes were focused on the mysterious honorary chief disciple of the pharmacy. They did not know what kind of strength the other party had to be able to make the grand principal and the grand principal make such a joint decision. The students who thought that the honorary chief disciple was just a joke by the grand principal were even more shocked and incredulous. The effects of the medicinal liquid that Luo Qingtong refined for the Heavenly Demon group were also exposed. When they heard that it was the mysterious chief pharmacist who had refined it in 3 days, most of the pharmacist's students fell silent. No one knew better than them what kind of alchemy skills the other party had. When Luo Qingtong's words before she left spread, it caused waves in the holy court of the Empire of Qin. Crazy. Too crazy. The other party was obviously supporting the Heavenly Demon group. Not only was she supporting them, but she was also avenging the Heavenly Demon group. The Qin Wei group used the medicinal liquid to threaten the Heavenly Demon group, and joined forces with the other student forces to deal with the Heavenly Demon group. The mysterious honorary chief disciple of the pharmacy also used the same method to fight back. Not only that, she also increased her attack, directly poking at the foundation of the Qin Wei group. The Qin Wei group did not care about the hostility of the other student forces. After all, as long as they had alchemy skills, there would be people on their side. However, they couldn't ignore the hostility from the students of the other medicine departments. Luo Qingtong's last words were too lethal. The people in the Qin Wei group were all the best of the best in the pharmacy. The effects of the medicinal liquid they concoct are the best. Those who were not strong enough could not enter the Qin Wei group. Not all the students of the pharmacy supported the Qin Wei group. Now that there was a chance to change and surpass them, who would not want to have it? Luo Qingtong's words were too big, but if an ordinary person said it, they would definitely be laughed at. However, these words came from the mouth of an honorary chief disciple of a medicinal institute. Moreover, the other party had also displayed powerful alchemy skills. Many students from the pharmaceutical department were willing to believe it. On the same day, a few people came to the Heavenly Evil group's base and expressed their willingness to refine potions for the Heavenly Evil group. After signing the agreement and confirming that there would be no violation, they all received a formula for the medicinal liquid. What shocked them was that on the formula, there was a perfect refining process. This included heat control, hand speed, refining fusion degree, refining fusion point, various changes in medicinal properties, as well as how to reverse and remedy any errors. Every point was described in extreme detail. Looking at this formula, the few of them finally understood what the honorary lead alchemist meant when he said that the medicinal liquid they refined would not be weaker than those genius alchemists from the Qingwei group. Chapter 1025. What was a heaven-defying method? This was a heaven-defying method. Just how high must the other party's alchemy skills be to be able to describe the refining steps, the degree of fusion, and the changes in the medicinal properties in such detail? What shocked them even more was that they knew the contents of the formula and could remember it in their minds, but they could not express it or say it out loud. Of course, they could not write it out either. In other words, only they knew the contents. No one knew how the mysterious honorary head of the Pharmaceutical Institute had done it, but the students of the Pharmaceutical Institute were already convinced of his strength. After they went back, they immediately returned and joined the Heavenly Demon Group. After all, who wouldn't want to get closer to such an alchemist whose alchemy skills were formidable to such a terrifying extent, in order to be able to obtain some pointers? Unfortunately, they did not know who the other party was, so getting in touch with the other party's Heavenly Demon Group was their only choice. 1 person, 2 people, 3 people. More and more students from the pharmacy department joined the Heavenly Demon Group to refine medicinal liquids for them. What was even more surprising was that the students of the alchemy department who joined the Heavenly Diabolism Group, no matter how poor their aptitudes were or how bad the effects of their potions were, the potions they refined after joining the group were of the highest quality. This strong contrast between good and bad, heaven and hell, made everyone finally understand the true ability of the honorary lead disciple of the pharmacy department. She could really turn something rotten into something magical. In fact, for Luo Qingtong, this was just a matter of using her ocular technique to analyze the medicinal properties. Her ocular technique could see through and analyze everything. The refining steps and medicinal properties of those medicinal liquids were all in her eyes. Under such circumstances, as long as they followed her instructions to refine medicinal liquids, it was like playing a game according to a strategy. It would be strange if they did not get high scores. Although the formula given by Luo Qingtong was only for the medicinal liquids distributed by the Sacred Court, the description of medicinal properties was too detailed. Smart people could easily draw inferences and apply it to other medicinal liquids. With this, many people's alchemy levels broke through. For a time, the students from the pharmacy department rushed to the Heavenly Demon Group to sign up, wanting to refine medicinal liquids for the Heavenly Demon Group. Seeing that the students of the pharmaceutical department had tasted the sweetness, some of the student forces could no longer sit still. A student group that was only slightly weaker than the Gue Yuan group and the Dragon group tried to go against the Qing Wei group and stood on the side of the Heavenly Demon Group. Very soon, the medicinal herbs they sent were refined into medicinal liquid. Furthermore, the retention rate of the medicinal properties was 10% higher than what the Qing Wei Tuan refined for them, 90%. This was already close to a transcendent grade medicinal liquid. Ordinary high-level alchemists couldn't refine it. With every 10% increase in the retention rate of the medicinal properties, the medicinal effects of this medicinal liquid would be even better. All of a sudden, a group of high-level student forces heard the news and acted immediately. In just a few days, the Qing Wei group's actions against Luo Qingtong had completely reversed. They were the ones being targeted and isolated. Bang! In the Qing Wei group's encampment, Luo Yiran had already smashed countless decorations and things. Since the establishment of the Qing Wei group, they had never suffered such a huge loss. They were alchemists, and they were also well-known geniuses of the medicine garden. The students of the Heavenly Palace of the Holy Academy would do anything to support them. Chapter 1026. Alchemists generally didn't need to be strong, so they didn't need to go to the Heavenly Temple's training ground. But they had to use the pharmacy's training facilities and refining equipment, right? Otherwise, how could they improve their alchemy skills and familiarity? But now, most of the people in the pharmacy had joined the Heavenly Demon Group, and they were fighting against them. The Qing Wei group often couldn't get their hands on the training facilities and refining equipment. They were almost going crazy. They finally tasted the feeling of being isolated by the Heavenly Demon Group before. And it was 100 times more painful than the latter. Because they had been standing too high before, they hadn't suffered any setbacks. They were caught off guard and couldn't stand it. Luo Yiran and the others were so angry that their faces were almost swollen. On the other side, Mo Yufei wasn't any better than them. She was even more painful. She went to Yu Wenma and proudly told him that she had instigated the Qing Wei group to deal with Luo Qingtong. She told him that it wouldn't be long before Luo Qingtong couldn't be arrogant anymore. At that time, she could only be kicked out of the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin, or kneel down and bow her head. She was so proud of herself, but she didn't notice that Yu Wenma was lying on the bed, looking at her with more and more confused and crazy eyes. Yu Wenma was almost driven crazy by the cold in his body. He hadn't been attacked by the cold for a long time, and he didn't know how painful it was when the cold broke out in the past. Now that he was lying in bed, living a life worse than death, he finally realized how stupid he had been in the past. If he didn't despise Luo Qingtong, he wouldn't be like this now. Yu Wenma's heart was full of pain and regret. At this moment, he suddenly felt a familiar aura coming from Mo Yufei's body that could relieve the cold aura that was suppressing his body. Instantly, Yu Wenma's mind was blurred. He instinctively followed the aura and pounced over, wanting to relieve his pain a little more. Mo Yufei was talking happily at this moment. She didn't expect that Yu Wenma, who was lying on the bed, suddenly got up and threw himself at her. Ah! In the next second, there was the sound of clothes being torn, and Mo Yufei's scream became even more shrill. She did like Yu Wenma in the past, but that was because he was handsome and powerful. Now that Yu Wenmo was crippled, Mo Yufei's feelings for him gradually faded. As a princess of the royal family, she could have any man she wanted. How could she be together with a cripple? Moreover, the royal family would not allow it. It would be too shameful for the royal family. If Mo Yufei dared to be with Yu Wenma, the royal family would immediately depose her as the princess. By then, she would have nothing left. Mo Yufei was not that stupid. But now, everything was ruined. Mo Yufei's face was filled with despair. In the Dragon Regiment's base, Mo Qinchuan's face turned green when he received the news that Luo Qingtong had turned the tables. He had just purchased a large number of medicinal liquids from the market at a high price, and now Luo Qingtong had turned the tables. Then who did he sell those medicinal liquids to? In order to make things difficult for Luo Qingtong and Ma Chenyi, he had been competing with the latter to buy the elixirs in the holy capital. Now, the price of the medicinal liquids was more than 30 times the previous price. He had thought that after admiring Luo Qingtong and Ma Chenyi's embarrassed expressions, he could sell the medicinal liquids to Ma Chenyi at a higher price. Chapter 1027. But he didn't expect that Luo Qingtong would turn the tables like this. She even knew the mysterious honorary chief of the Pharmaceutical Institute. Mo Qinxian gritted his teeth and hurriedly ordered people to sell the elixirs to the Crown Prince's mansion. He hoped that Ma Chenyi didn't receive the news too early, so that the people in the Crown Prince's mansion couldn't react in time and he could reduce the loss. Mo Qinxian almost emptied half of the Wu Imperial Mansion for the elixirs. If it fell into his hands, he would vomit blood. However, his subordinate hurriedly went out and finally turned back with a pale face. Your Highness, the people in the Crown Prince's mansion said that His Highness asked us to tell you that he thanked you for emptying the inventory of the Crown Prince's mansion and giving him a large amount of money and resources. He also said that the elixirs we bought at a high price were specially given to you as a souvenir and asked you to keep them well. Under Mo Qinchuan's murderous gaze, the subordinate trembled and said those words. Hearing this, Mo Qinxian was so angry that he vomited blood. Obviously, Ma Chenyi had seen through his plan from the beginning and was waiting for him to fall into the trap. Those elixirs he bought at a high price were all the other party's conspiracy. Ma Chenyi. Luo Qingtong. Mo Qinxian was so angry. In the encampment of the evil team, Luo Qingtong sat in the pavilion in her courtyard, looking at the things in her hands and slightly curling her lips. This was sent by Ma Chenyi, saying that it was a bonus from selling the elixirs and thanking her for her advice. Luo Qingtong looked at the huge number and could imagine how badly Mo Qinxian was cheated this time. This trick of inviting the monarch into a trap was really not bad. She could play more in the future. This time, the profit was almost 7 or 8 times the national treasury of the Tianyu Empire. Mo Qinxian really paid a lot this time. She didn't know how much blood he was spitting now. Luo Qingtong thought, and the smile on her lips became sweeter and sweeter. She did deliberately let Ma Qinyi go back to buy the elixirs. She wanted to trick Mo Qinxian. From the looks of it, the effect was pretty good. Moreover, Ma Qinyi was a person who could draw inferences from one instance. Luo Qingtong just wanted him to spread the news and let Mo Qinxian deliberately go against him in this situation. Then she would buy a batch of useless liquid at a high price and teach him a lesson. But he didn't expect that Ma Qinyi directly gave all the medicinal liquid in his mansion to Mo Qinxian. Not only that, but he also pretended to help her at all costs and deliberately competed with Mo Qinxian. As a result, he sold the expensive liquid medicine to Mo Qinxian, who desperately wanted to make trouble for him. When Luo Qingtong received the news from the Black Field, she almost laughed to death. If it were not for Ma Qinye's arrangement, no matter how stupid Mo Qinxian was, he would not take out more than half of the Wu Imperial Mansion's assets to make trouble for her and Ma Qinyi. Now, not only did they fail to cause trouble, but they were also completely wiped out. As Luo Qingtong thought about it, she put away the dividends with a smile. Then she continued to do what she was doing. Recently, she got some inspiration from the gambling battle between her and Yu Wenma and was going to develop a new inscription pattern. If she could succeed, it would greatly improve the strength of the people around her. Luo Qingtong was a very protective person. As long as the people around her were loyal, she would always protect them. Who would have thought that he had actually kicked a big iron plate? During this period of time, the heavens and the heavens, the heavens and heavenly evil group. The heavens and the heavens, the heavens and the heavens. Mo Yufei was lying to them. Mo Yufei's status as a princess was abolished. At the same time, her strength was also abolished. It was said that because she could not let go of Yu Wenma, she secretly had an affair with him. In the end, she was infected by Yu Wenma's cold aura. Now, she had become the same as him. Chapter 1029. The royal family of the Empire of Qin was extremely angry. Mo Yufei was so shameless that she even wanted a useless and ungrateful person like Yu Wenma. She had really disgraced the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. Not to mention that Mo Yufei had become a useless person because of this. Immediately, a decree was sent out from the palace. Mo Yufei was expelled from the royal family of the Empire of Qin and demoted to a commoner. Her bloodline power, cultivation methods, and martial arts of the royal family of the Empire of Qin were also taken back. In short, her strength was abolished. Hearing this news, Luo Qingtong's lips curled up slightly, looking indescribably evil and happy. The royal family of the Empire of Qin was really awesome. The cold air of Yu Wenma on Mo Yufei's body would actually dissipate soon. As long as she didn't let Yu Wenma get close to her, her strength would be restored. Now that the royal family of the Empire of Qin did this, Mo Yufei was really disabled. What should she say? The royal family of the Empire of Qin was really a godly assistant. This stab couldn't be any better. Ignoring this news, Luo Qingtong put her attention back on her hands. She had almost finished studying the new inscription pattern. Come here. She crooked her finger at Yuan Hu. The latter hurriedly came over. Boss. Well, take off your clothes, Luo Qingtong said to him. Yes. Yuan Hu hurriedly did as he was told and tore off his clothes. Luo Qingtong looked at him and her lips twitched. She asked him to take off his clothes, not tear them. Why was he so excited? People who didn't know better would think that she asked him to come over to serve her. Fortunately, Yi Qianxian wasn't here. Otherwise, she didn't know how to deal with him. Yuan Hu didn't think so much. He was indeed very excited. Boss's action of calling him was very familiar, okay? In the past, every time Luo Qingtong thought of a way to improve their strength, she would call them over like this. It must be the same this time. Thinking that every time Luo Qingtong called them, their strength would increase by a large margin, Yuanhu suddenly trembled with excitement. Boss. You can do whatever you want. My skin is thick and my flesh is thick. I can definitely withstand it. The moment Yuanhu said that, Luo Qingtong's hand, which was about to draw an inscription pattern on his body, trembled. How could this guy's words be so ambiguous? What did he mean by saying that he could handle whatever she wanted? Those who didn't know would think that she was going to rape him. If you don't know how to speak, then shut up. Luo Qingtong's face darkened as she looked at his excited expression. It was as if he was waiting for an SM. She felt a chill and almost kicked him out. If you keep nagging, I'll switch you out. Yuanhu instantly shut his mouth. He didn't want to be replaced. Luo Qingtong drew an inscription pattern on Yuanhu's back and then said to him, "Try to inject your aura into that inscription pattern. Activate the power inside and then attack." Yes. Yuanhu responded and then followed Luo Qingtong's instructions. Boom. As his aura was injected into that inscription pattern, Yuanhu's aura changed instantly. With a boom, he raised his hand and blasted an attack forward. Then, his eyes widened as he looked at the dense frost on it. This is cold air? Yuanhu looked at his hands in disbelief. That attack just now was blasted out from his hands. However, he was clearly using the same attack as usual. How could there be cold air? Chapter 1030. This cold air, Yuanhu and the others stared with their eyes wide open. Boss, is this Yuanma's cold air? Ling Tianhan and the others were not far away. They were all called over by Luo Qingtong. At this moment, they were all shocked by Yuanhu's attack. This was clearly the power of the soul imprint. What was going on? How could Yuanhu release a soul imprint attack? Everyone's eyes were wide open. Yes, it's Yuanma's cold air. It's also the attribute of his ice soul imprint. Luo Qingtong said indifferently. She looked at Yuanhu's attack with satisfaction. Not bad, it perfectly reproduced the effect of Yuanma's ice attribute. Although the power was much weaker. But Yuanhu wasn't a soul cultivator of the ice attribute. He didn't even use his soul skill. To be able to release such power, it was not bad. Boss, what's going on? Yuanhu was excited. Oh my god. Didn't he have a petrification soul imprint? How could he release an attack with the effect of cold air? Yuanhu was very sure that he wasn't the legendary genius with 2 soul imprints. Otherwise, how could he be thrown into the trash class and get to know Luo Qingtong? That's what happened. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows. The inscription pattern I just carved for you will allow you to have a type of soul imprint power for a certain period of time. It's a fake soul imprint and will be very useful for your future battles. In simple terms, Luo Qingtong created a soul imprint for Yuanhu. Everyone knew that the power of the soul imprint came from the soul. If it was 1 in 100 to become a martial artist, then the probability of becoming a soul personage was 1 in 10,000, or even 1 in 100,000. When a martial artist with a soul imprint released an attack, it would naturally trigger the attribute of the soul imprint, allowing their attack to have a different power and effect compared to other martial artists. Soul skills could increase the power and effect of the soul imprint. It was a soul personage's unique attack skill. At this moment, Yuanhu, who had a petrification soul imprint, released an attack with the attribute of cold air. How could Ling Tianhan and the rest not widen their eyes in shock? Damn, boss, you're really amazing. Yuanhu was stunned by Luo Qingtong's words. Fake soul seal? No matter how stupid he was, he knew what this meant. As long as they had this inscription pattern, even if they didn't have the corresponding soul imprint, they would still have the corresponding attribute power. As long as Luo Qingtong was willing, she could bestow them with any kind of soul imprint. Even if this power was only temporary. Luo. If they could obtain it and use it, it would be enough for them to gain the upper hand in battle. Oh my god. Little Pig poked his head out of Luo Qingtong's sleeve and stared blankly at the inscription pattern on Yuanhu's back. An inscription pattern that could allow a warrior to possess the power of a soul seal was obviously the most difficult inscription pattern among the high-level inscriptions. Even an ordinary inscription master wouldn't be able to draw something like this. In the Immortal Slayer Palace, only a few elders were able to carve it. It wasn't because this inscription pattern was difficult to draw, but because it involved the essence of the soul seal. It wasn't something an ordinary person could understand. Only those who were at the elder level and above were powerful enough to understand the essence of the soul imprint. Only then could they draw this inscription pattern. Chapter 1031. Little Pig stared at the inscription pattern on Yuanhu's back and wondered what kind of monster Luo Qingtong was. She didn't play by the rules at all. She hadn't even drawn a few intermediate inscriptions yet. How could she draw an advanced inscription pattern? In fact, Little Pig didn't know that this inscription pattern was the most difficult to draw among the advanced inscriptions. But for Luo Qingtong, it was the easiest inscription pattern to draw. Because she had the eye technique, she didn't need to cultivate to a high level like other inscriptionists to see through the essence of the soul seal. She could tell at a glance. Of course, she could draw it. However, it had to be a soul imprint that Luo Qingtong had analyzed. If she hadn't seen or analyzed the soul seal, she wouldn't be able to draw it. Therefore, Luo Qingtong could draw such a fake soul seal because she was opportunistic. She wasn't like those elders of the Immortal Slayer Palace, who could draw any inscription pattern with the power of the soul seal as they wished. After the experiment was a success, Luo Qingtong drew an ice attribute fake soul seal on Ling Tianhan, Sima Zhu, Ling Yu, Chu Wenhao, and Ling Tianchen. The power of the soul seal was analyzed by her from Yuanma. It was much stronger and more tyrannical than the usual ice attribute soul seal and could increase the strength of Yuanhu and the others by a lot. In the end, Luo Qingtong drew a similar inscription pattern for Su Xiaoxiao. With this, Su Xiaoxiao would have a great guarantee when she needed to concoct medicine in the future. If anyone thought she was a pushover, they would be beaten to a pulp. Luo Qingtong then taught them the soul skill she analyzed from Yuanma so that they could practice more when they were free. Yuanhu and the others were moved beyond words. No one knew better than them what kind of opportunity Luo Qingtong had created for them and what kind of path she had paved for them. "Boss, you're really too good to us." Yuanhu, a burly man, was so excited that his eyes turned red. "Alright, don't be so emotional." Luo Qingtong saw that their eyes were all red and they could not speak. She sighed and said, "Alright, you risked your lives to save me in the Kaiyuan mystic realm. You are worthy of me doing all this for you. Remember, don't be left behind. I won't stop to wait for you. Understand?" She looked at them and said, "Yes." Everyone answered in unison, but they knew it clearly in their hearts. Luo Qingtong would not stop to wait for them, but she would drag them along. She worked hard to create a chance for them to catch up to her, so they couldn't disappoint her painstakingly. After they left, everyone's Luo Qingtong, Luo Chuyue, and Luo's aunts, Luo Qingtong, and Luo Luo. She was Luo Qingtong, Luo of Lulua. Luo Qingtong was Luo, and her Luo Dragon Qingtong, Luo Qingtong. Unwavering in life and death, unyielding in the face of adversity. After Yuanhu and the others left, Luo Qingtong went to look for Fengyu. "You didn't see anything just now, right?" Luo Qingtong looked indifferently at Fengyu, who appeared in front of her. Luo Qingtong wiped his sweat. He understood what Luo Qingtong meant. Chapter 1032. It seemed that Lord Evil Doctor had a very deep understanding of Master's jealousy. Under Luo Qingtong's gaze, Fengyu silently nodded. He didn't want to tell Master. Otherwise, with Master's precious evil doctor's temperament, he would explode with jealousy and be reluctant to do anything to evil doctor. In the end, the unlucky ones would still be them. Thinking of the painful experiences he and the others had recently experienced by Yi Qianxian's side, Feng Yu quickly nodded. He even said that he was carrying out Master's orders, that everything should be done according to evil doctor's words. Luo Qingtong nodded with satisfaction. Then, she thought of another matter and suddenly asked, "That's right, have you heard of a place called Flying Feather in the Outer Realms?" Luo Qingtong had wanted to ask Yi Qianxian about it last time, but because grandfather Luo wasn't sure at the time. So Luo Qingtong didn't ask. This time, after she took back the engagement token from Yu Wenma, she put it together with the one in her hand. She saw the two words Flying Feather clearly appear on it. She should be able to confirm that her mother came from that place. The pair of engagement tokens she had with her father was also related to that place. No. Feng Yu shook his head. Then, he looked at Luo Qingtong and asked strangely, "Evil doctor, why are you asking this? Do you need us to help you investigate? Why would evil doctor suddenly ask about the outer realms?" "It's fine." Luo Qingtong waved her hand. She was just casually asking. If Feng Yu and the others knew, then they could inquire about that place. If they didn't know, then forget it. After all, Yi Qianxian's side had a lot of trivial matters. Luo Qingtong didn't want to trouble him with her matters. Not to mention, it was more of a guess. Whether or not this was the case, she would have to personally make a trip there. And it was impossible for her to leave True Spill Continent now. Thinking like this, Luo Qingtong didn't mention this matter again. She casually dismissed Feng Yu and began to ponder over the map she had obtained from the Silver Sword Sex Elder. Luo Qingtong was looking at the map on the way when she was interrupted by Yu Xingqi. This time, he took a good look at it and found that this map was actually an incomplete map. Of course, this was referring to the small map labeled Saint Monarch's Tomb in the middle. While Luo Qingtong was studying the small map, a figure appeared in the encampment of the Qing Wei group. Senior sister. Seeing that green figure appear, the lifeless atmosphere in the Qing Wei group instantly changed. After Luo Iran and the others heard about Mo Yufei, they didn't plan to go and settle accounts with the other party. After all, Mo Yufei had been punished and became so miserable. But what about the conflict between them and the Heavenly Demon group? The group of people felt an indescribable dilemma. They wanted to admit defeat to Luo Qingtong. But before, they had pushed the Heavenly Demon group too hard. They had almost driven Luo Qingtong out of the empire of Qin's holy court. Under such circumstances, they didn't know if the other party would accept their surrender. And what kind of conditions would Luo Qingtong put forward? The group was in a dilemma when they suddenly heard that Yu Qingwei had returned. They immediately rushed out to greet her. Senior sister. Chapter 1033. Senior sister, I'm sorry. They looked at the girl in front of them, too ashamed to face her. Especially Luo Iran, her face was pale and her head was lowered, not daring to look at Yu Qingwei. She was the one who had caused all of this. If she hadn't listened to Mo Yufei and attacked the Heavenly Demon group, the Qing Wei group wouldn't have fallen to such a state. Looking at the haggard faces of the other members of the Qing Wei group, who were no longer as proud as they used to be, Luo Iran felt very regretful. This is indeed your fault. When Yu Qingwei came back, she heard about the conflict between the Heavenly Demon group and the Qing Wei group. She also knew what was going on. This time, the Qing Wei group was indeed at fault. The Heavenly Demon group's counterattack was not a problem. In fact, if Luo Qingtong didn't know the mysterious honorary chief of the pharmaceutical department, she might have been forced to leave the holy court. The Heavenly Demon group had been targeted so much, and now it was all returned to the Qing Wei group. This time, no one could say that Luo Qingtong and the Qing Wei group were in the wrong. But, this time, it was all because of her. Yu Qingwei thought about it and sighed. I'll talk to the Heavenly Demon group about this. You guys wait here for my news. No matter what, Luo Yiran and the others had offended Luo Qingtong and the Heavenly Demon Group because of her. Anyone could blame them, but not Yu Qingwei. Alright, go and rest. But Luo Yiran and the others looked at her with red eyes. We offended the Heavenly Demon Group too much. Luo Yiran and the others knew how much they had gone overboard, so they didn't think that Luo Qingtong and the Heavenly Demon Group would let them go. They had almost forced Luo Qingtong and the Heavenly Demon Group into a desperate situation. Moreover, they had mocked and humiliated Luo Qingtong and Su Xiaoxiao. Luo Yiran and the others almost cried when they said this. It's okay. Yu Qingwei looked at them and nodded. I will challenge the mysterious honorary head pharmacist of the medicine department. If I win, the Heavenly Demon Group will not pursue this matter. If I lose, then I will apologize on your behalf, no matter what Luo Qingtong asks. I agree. No matter what, Qingwei Group was at fault for this matter. Yu Qingwei couldn't watch Luo Yiran and the others continue to be tormented like this. However, she did not want to be enemies with the Heavenly Demon Group. Thus, he could only come up with this method. A gambling match between alchemists. Whoever loses has to lower their heads. Fair and just, there was nothing to criticize. What? Senior sister. No. Luo Yiran and the others became anxious when they heard this. How could they let senior sister apologize on their behalf? They had done such an excessive thing before. Who knew how Luo Qingtong and the others would make things difficult for senior sister and what conditions they would put forward? Moreover, that honorary chief alchemist's strength was so strong. Senior apprentice sister might not be her match. Senior sister, you don't know, but that honorary chief alchemist's strength is really strong. Luo Yiran and the others told her everything that Luo Qingtong had done when she became the honorary chief alchemist. Not to mention anything else, just the formula that Luo Qingtong had given to those alchemists and guided them to refine the best quality medicine was enough to prove that her alchemy skills had reached the peak. Chapter 1034. The Qingwei Group's members were all alchemists and were the best of the best. If it wasn't for Luo Qingtong's tempting conditions, the Empire of Qin's Holy Court wouldn't have targeted them like this, causing them to fall into this situation. Senior sister. Luo Yiran and the others were anxious. It's fine. Yu Qingwei looked at them and shook her head, firmly saying, I will definitely participate in this battle. This is the only way to solve the problem. You don't need to worry. When I came back, I had already broken through the realm of alchemists and refined a complete pill elixir. If nothing unexpected happens, I should be the winner of this battle. Hearing this, Luo Yiran and the others cried out in joy. Senior sister, you broke through? Really? Luo Yiran and the others were indescribably happy. Yu Qingwei was a top genius in the Empire of Qin's Holy Court's medicine department. If it wasn't for that honorary chief disciple, the chief disciple of the medicine department would definitely be Yu Qingwei. Because she had already found a new path and refined a pill elixir with a certain effect. This confirmed that she had the talent to become an alchemist. It had to be known that it was impossible to refine pills as an alchemist. One had to raise their alchemy skills to the peak to be able to use the power of heaven and earth to refine pills without any mistakes. But Yu Qingwei had refined a pill elixir as an alchemist. Even if it was just a fake pill elixir with almost no effect, it still proved that if nothing unexpected happened, she would definitely become an alchemist. They didn't think that she would be able to refine a complete pill elixir. Unless that honorary chief disciple could refine pills. Otherwise, senior sister would definitely win. Luo Yiran and the others thought this and immediately relaxed. As long as Yu Qingwei won, the matter between them and the Heavenly Demon Group could be written off. Thinking this, they felt a burst of joy in their hearts. Challenge? In the Heavenly Demon Group's encampment, Luo Qingtong looked at the girl sitting across from her. The latter was wearing a light green robe and looked as gentle as a pool of clear water. Luo Qingtong didn't expect the other party to be Yu Qingwei. She originally thought that Yu Qingwei would be similar to Mo Yufei and Su Jinhua based on what the Qingwei group had done before. Who would have thought that the difference would be so great? It was no wonder that the Grand Principal had specially sought him out and told him not to be so ruthless. If it wasn't for the other party's words, the punishment that the Qingwei group would have received would definitely not be this severe. Just look at how the members of the Dragon Regiment had been insulted by her. Luo Qingtong actually left some face for the Qingwei group. Luo Qingtong had a lot of means to deal with the Qingwei group. It was enough to slap their faces until they were swollen. But because of the Grand Principal's words, she was slightly merciful. Now, it seemed that this favor was worth it. The other party was not someone who did not know what was good for him, nor was he an arrogant and despotic person. Yes. This is our fault after all. I would like to apologize to you here. But Iran and the others did it for me. Although I didn't know about it, I can't interfere in this matter. Yu Qingwei looked at Luo Qingtong and nodded slightly. I hope you can tell that honorary chief disciple that I challenge her. If I win, this matter will be written off. Chapter 1035. Luo Qingtong looked at the girl's calm face and narrowed her eyes. It seems like senior sister Qingwei is very confident. Luo Qingtong said with a smile, okay, I'll tell her. And Yu Qingwei nodded at Luo Qingtong. Then I'll have to trouble junior sister Luo. She then left with Luo Yiran and the others. After she left, Luo Qingtong smiled with interest. This Yu Qingwei was quite interesting. Luo Qingtong could see that the other party was very confident in the challenge. It seemed like she wanted to use this challenge to smooth over the conflict between the two sides. Was she certain that she would win? Luo Qingtong smiled as she thought about it. Her interest was piqued. And Yu Qingwei's attitude was very good. She didn't try to shirk responsibility or distort the truth. Instead, she sincerely wanted to apologize. Luo Qingtong's previous opponents were either green tea bitches or scheming bitches. It was rare to meet a normal one. Based on her attitude and the Grand Principal's pleading, even if she lost after the challenge, Luo Qingtong wouldn't target the Qingwei group anymore. In any case, the other party had been taught a lesson during this period of time. There was no need to continue killing them. She had promised the Grand Principal that she would be merciful. However, those people who had insulted Su Xiaoxiao before had to apologize personally. Luo Qingtong thought about it and immediately sent people to investigate Yu Qingwei to see where her confidence came from. When she saw the contents of the information, she smiled. So it's like this? Pill elixir? It seemed that the other party had some gains outside this time and was able to refine a complete pill elixir. That's why she was so confident and wanted to use this challenge to smooth over the grudges between the two sides. The other party was very sincere. Thinking about how Yu Qingwei was confident in winning but didn't make any excessive demands and only wanted to resolve the conflict between the two sides, Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed. She said to the people beside her, spread the word that the chief disciple has agreed to the duel with Yu Qingwei in 3 days. Luo Qingtong still had some things to take care of these 2 days. She didn't have time to compete with Yu Qingwei. Moreover, she had to give those people who wanted to see her play some time to prepare. Luo Qingtong thought about it as a crafty and evil light flashed in her eyes. The news that the chief disciple who supported the heavenly evil group was going to duel with Yu Qingwei quickly spread to every corner of the holy court in the empire of Qin Empire. When the Grand Principal heard this news, his head was B. Why did she make such a big fuss? Yu Qingwei came to seek reconciliation. Just forgive her. He was so worried that he was about to die. This last was the trump card he had prepared. He didn't want her to reveal everything before the grand event. Yu Qingwei, that girl, was already able to refine pill elixirs. Apart from revealing her pill techniques, what else could Luo Qingtong do to win? If she played like this, she would sooner or later expose the identity of the evil Dr. Ghost Eye. She should at least endure for a while. Wait until after that grand event, I'll show him my trump card before exposing it. The Grand Principal was also worried sick. He wished that he could run to Luo Qingtong and tell her to reject this challenge. However, the date had already been set. There was no way to reject it. Chapter 1036. Mo Chenxian, who had been gloomy because of the purchase of medicinal liquid at a high price last time, sneered when he heard the news. Yu Qingwei can already refine elixirs. Unless that honorary chief can refine elixirs, how can she win against her? Luo Qingtong is definitely going to be humiliated this time. Mo Chenxuan's mood improved a little when he thought of this. Unfortunately, Yu Qingwei's conditions were too mild. She only wanted to settle things peacefully. Otherwise, he could have taught Luo Qingtong and the rest a good lesson. Thinking that it was the other party in Ma Chenyi who had arranged a good show for him, causing him to suffer heavy losses, Mo Chenxian gritted his teeth fiercely. That Luo Qingtong got away with it for nothing. At this moment, a member of the Dragon Regiment suddenly said, "Your Highness, we secretly found out about Yu Qingwei from the Qingwei group. Luo Qingtong definitely knows about it. That honorary chief is extremely strong in refining elixirs. She definitely didn't expect the other party to lose. If Yu Qingwei doesn't deal with her, we can set up a trap ourselves and use this chance to make Luo Qingtong jump in herself. We can also set up a trap for His Highness the Crown Prince to help you vent your anger." Mo Chenxuan's eyes narrowed as soon as that member of the Dragon Regiment spoke. "You mean, Your Highness, we can set up a bet?" It was unknown where that member of the Dragon Regiment got this idea from. As soon as Mo Chenxian asked, he immediately spoke with assurance. "We can use this chance to place a bet and see who wins and who loses. Luo Qingtong doesn't know Yu Qingwei's strength. She will definitely bet on the honorary chief to win." At that time, that member of the Dragon Regiment chuckled. "Okay." Mo Chenxian thought carefully for a while and indeed felt that this was a good idea. He set up a bet and even the reason was justified. He couldn't stand Luo Qingtong and wanted to make things difficult for her. At that time, it would be logical for him to bet on Yu Qingwei. If Luo Qingtong was confident, she would definitely buy from her own side. This plan was flawless. He wasn't afraid that Luo Qingtong wouldn't fall for it. It was a pity that Ma Chenyi definitely wouldn't bet for Yu Qingwei. Otherwise, the two of them would take care of him together. Thinking of this, Mo Chenxian made the final decision. "Okay. Let's do it." He laughed out loud. The member of the Dragon Group was very proud, then he said, "Your Highness, you can also use reverse psychology to make Luo Qingtong accept other bets. When the result comes out, you can make her lose money and lose face." As he spoke, he laughed sinisterly. "Good. Very good." Hearing his words, Mo Chenxian felt very comfortable in his heart, and the gloominess in his heart before dissipated. He hurriedly sent someone to spread the news. Very soon, the people of the Empire of Qin's Sacred Court heard about the battle between Yu Qingwei and the honorary champion of the medicine department. They also knew that His Highness King Wu had set up a bet for the result of this battle. He bet that Yu Qingwei would win, and the ratio was 1-10. It seemed that His Highness King Wu didn't think highly of Luo Qingtong's side. Or rather, he was deliberately making things difficult for Luo Qingtong's side. Everyone was waiting to see how Luo Qingtong would react. They thought that His Highness King Wu's provocation this time was so obvious. Luo Qingtong and the rest definitely wouldn't pretend not to see it. They would probably go against His Highness King Wu. Chapter 1037. Everyone thought so, and soon they heard the news that Luo Qingtong and the others went to the betting place set by the Dragon Regiment. Your Highness King Wu seems to be in the mood for leisure. Luo Qingtong appeared at the betting place with the Heavenly Evil group and looked at Mo Chenxian, who was sitting in the hall. "It's just for fun. Junior sister Luo can't afford it, right?" Mo Chenxuan's words seemed calm, but in fact, he was provoking her. He implied that if Luo Qingtong came to make trouble, she could not afford it. Ordinary people would not be able to stand it when they heard this, let alone Mo Chinxian, who was criticizing Luo Qingtong and betting that she would definitely lose. Given the previous conflict between Luo Qingtong and the Dragon Regiment, it would be strange if she was not angry. Sure enough, as soon as Mo Chinxian finished his words, a trace of coldness flashed across Luo Qingtong's eyes, and then she smiled and said, "How can that be? I'm also here to bet for fun." As she said, she patted the table in front of her and said, "I'll bet as much as Your Highness King Wu." As soon as she said that, Mo Chinxian suddenly sneered. It seems that junior sister Luo is very confident. He looked at Luo Qingtong, and then said coldly, "In this case, why don't we add another bet?" He said to Luo Qingtong, "The loser not only has to pay the bet money, but also has to become the other's slave?" Mo Chinxian still could not forget that he wanted Luo Qingtong to be his slave last time. Her appearance and figure were not bad, and it would be good to get her to play with. Thinking of this, he suddenly raised his chin and said to Luo Qingtong, "How about it? Junior sister Luo, do you dare to bet?" Luo Qingtong looked at him. Although Luo Yunyang had deliberately lured the other party into setting up this trap, His Highness Martial King was really courting death. In this case, she would fulfill his wish. Luo Qingtong thought and said with a faint smile, "Your Highness King Wu must be joking. Even if you really lose, how can I dare to make you my slave?" Just based on the fact that the other party wanted to be his slave, he wasn't qualified. Moreover, the imperial family of the Empire of Qin was also a troublesome matter. Luo Qingtong was too lazy to go against her for Mo Chinxian. Thinking of this, she suddenly said, "Since Your Highness insists on the bet, then the loser will have to run 10 laps around the Holy Academy, shouting that she is a B***TCH while running. What do you think? Does Your Highness dare to bet?" "You." Of course, Mo Chinxian could tell that Luo Qingtong was calling him a bitch. Did she think that she would definitely win? Thinking of this, Mo Chinxian sneered. "Good. Since junior sister Luo is in such a good mood, then I will accompany you to the end. If she wants to be a bitch, then let her be." As the two of them were talking, they heard a voice. A voice rang out at this moment. "How about I bear witness?" The young man had a handsome figure, like a clear spring, like flowing water, like a bamboo, like the bright moon. With his hands behind his back, he walked over with the members of the Gui Yuan clique. "Your Highness." Seeing Ma Chenyi coming, Luo Qingtong nodded to him. "Brother, don't you want to play?" Seeing that he stood up for Luo Qingtong, Mo Chinxian sneered and said, "No need." Ma Chenyi waved his hand. The matter between Luo Qingtong and Yu Qingwei was caused by him. It was not suitable for him to bet on either side. Otherwise, he really wanted Mo Chinxian to suffer more losses. "I will bear witness." "Brother, have you thought it through? Once this bet is made, you can't regret it. If you can't afford to lose, I won't save you face." Chapter 1038. Ma Chenyi looked at Mo Chinxian with a faint smile. "Brother, you're right. Please don't be biased when the time comes, imperial brother." Mo Chinchuan's words had a double meaning. It seemed that he was talking about himself, but in fact, he was talking about Luo Qingtong. So that Ma Chenyi wouldn't be reluctant to deal with the other party. The group of people opposed each other. Mo Chinxian sneered and asked people to bet all his assets. If he couldn't trick Ma Chenyi, he could trick Luo Qingtong. His brother was so protective of the other party. Maybe he would bet for the other party. If he didn't, then it would be better. If Luo Qingtong couldn't pay for it, then she would pay with her body. He could have a good taste of her. This time, he wanted them to pay back all the things that they tricked him last time. Mo Chinxian thought and left with a sneer. Luo Qingtong looked at him and sighed in her heart that some people were stupid and rich. She would be embarrassed if she didn't trick them. "Your Highness, do you want to join in? I'll bet for you." Luo Qingtong transmitted a message to Ma Chunyi with a smile. The latter's lips twitched slightly. Forget it. If the two of them bet like this, even if Mo Chen was stupid, he would feel that it was wrong. Ma Chunyi was very happy to see him suffer and didn't want to give him a chance to retreat. Okay. Seeing his concern, Luo Qingtong said with a smile, I'll give you a bonus. Hearing this, Ma Chunyi also smiled. The feeling of tricking Mo Chen last time was so good. Ever since the latter's rise, he had never felt so refreshed. But soon, the smile on his face disappeared, and then he walked to the side with Luo Qingtong and said, Princess, that chief, is he sure to win? He looked at Luo Qingtong and hesitated. Qingwei should have broken through the realm of alchemist and can refine elixir. The one you know. Ma Chunyi didn't try to find out the identity of that leader, but he was still worried that she would be able to win against Yu Qingwei. Why don't we just forget about it this time? There were plenty of opportunities to set Mo Chen up. The dragon chi in my body has been stabilizing day by day, and I will definitely consign him to eternal damnation in the future. Qingwei really wants to reconcile with you. You don't have to take the outcome of this bet to heart. When Luo Qingtong heard him say so much in one breath, she couldn't help but laugh and say, okay, I naturally have a sense of propriety. You just have to wait and see. She naturally knew that Yu Qingwei sincerely wanted to reconcile with her, which was why she agreed to this bet. They would know when they arrived in Ma Chunyi. Luo Qingtong looked at him and smiled. She waved at him and left with her people. 3 days later, Luo Qingtong dismissed the people from the Heavenly Demon Group and was about to find a secluded place to change her clothes and participate in the bet as the honorary chief of the Pharmaceutical Institute. But at this moment, she bumped into Mo Chen on the way. Luo Qingtong. Looking at the girl who was alone, Mo Chen narrowed his eyes slightly. There was no one by his side. Today, the information he inquired about Luo Qingtong and Yi Luo had arrived, and Tong Hu and the others had gone to collect it. The other people from the dragon group weren't qualified to follow Mo Chen. Your Highness King Wu. Luo Qingtong didn't expect to meet Mo Chen here. The latter looked at her with a gaze as cold as a snake, which she didn't like very much. Especially the hidden desire in his eyes, which made Luo Qingtong narrow her eyes coldly. Chapter 1039. She reckoned that Mo Chen wouldn't have much time left to recuperate, so she had to bear with him for a while longer. Luo Qingtong thought, nodded to Mo Chen, and was about to leave. However, Mo Chen stopped her. You are in such a hurry. Are you going to see the honorary chief of the Pharmaceutical Institute? Mo Chen looked at Luo Qingtong and sneered. Junior sister apprentice Luo bet a lot before. I don't know if you know that Yu Qingwei's refining ability has actually broken through the realm of alchemist and entered the level of quasi-alchemist, and she can already refine elixir liquid. Will you still be so confident? I am looking forward to the next gambling fight. I hope you can come up with enough compensation at that time. Of course, there is also the bet of going 10 laps around the Holy Institute of the Empire of Qin and shouting, I am a bitch. I am also looking forward to it. Mo Chen looked at Luo Qingtong maliciously, wanting to see her face change dramatically. Today was the day of the gambling fight. He was not afraid that Luo Qingtong would suddenly withdraw the bet, and she would not have that chance. If he told Luo Qingtong the truth now, would she cry and beg for mercy? If that was the case, he would be able to appreciate it. However, he was destined to be disappointed. Luo Qingtong looked at him indifferently. Her eyes were a little strange, as if she wanted to laugh but was holding it back. Mo Chen thought so, and suddenly his face darkened. On the other side, Luo Qingtong suppressed her laughter and glanced at Mo Chen. Then, she immediately followed his words. I am also looking forward to your Highness King Wu shouting that you are a bitch. I think the scene must be very spectacular and sensational. When Luo Qingtong said this, she could not hold it in anymore and burst out laughing. It is the first time I have seen a person as self-aware as your Highness King Wu. I really admire you, she said and laughed for a while. Her beautiful face was even more dazzling. Luo Qingtong. Mo Chenchuan's face was furious. He originally wanted to ridicule Luo Qingtong, but he didn't expect that the other party misinterpreted the meaning in his words and humiliated him back. The blue veins on his forehead were exposed. Looking at the beautiful girl who was smiling brightly, he said coldly, Luo Qingtong, don't be arrogant. Do you think that Ma Chenyi can protect you? I tell you, even if you cry and beg me for mercy, I will not let you go. If you can't take out a huge amount of money, you will pay with your body to pay. It just so happens that I also want to have a taste of the woman that Mo Chenyi fancies. Mo Chenchuan's eyes. At that time, no one's money, except Luo Qingtong's money. He would make this woman regret her actions under his body. However, before he could say anything, Luo Qingtong stopped him. In an instant, an extremely cold and murderous aura locked onto his body. Mo Chenchuan's face was pale. Only in an instant, he was fixed on the spot by the breath. Who was it? Mo Chenchuan's eyes were full of horror. This breath was full of killing intent. He had no doubt that the other party would kill him without hesitation. In an instant, cold sweat came down from Mo Chenchuan's forehead, and his legs were weak for a while. Luo Qingtong also felt the existence of this breath. Chapter 1040. Chief Instructor, you're back. Yi Qianren's figure walked out from the shadows not far away. His eyes were cold and murderous as he looked at Mo Chenxian, who was opposite Luo Qingtong. He had just returned from outside and heard the other party talking nonsense to Luo Qingtong. He wanted her to cry and beg him for mercy, and wanted her to pay with her body. Yi Qianxian's eyes were full of murderous intent and coldness. The aura all over his body was as cold as a knife, slowly cutting towards Mo Chenxian. He didn't care if he killed the other party. A mere king of martial arts of the Empire of Qin dared to covet his treasures. And with such dirty thoughts, the other party deserved to die. Luo Qingtong looked at the murderous aura all over his body and blinked. No, she couldn't kill Mo Chenxian now. Luo Qingtong still wanted to keep him as a medium to deal with the heavenly doctor. What's more, she had to reverse the dragon energy in his body and return it to Ma Chenyi. How could she let him die so easily? If not, how could she let him live until now? However, Yi Qianxian was so angry now that she was sure that he wouldn't listen to her if she tried to persuade him directly. Luo Qingtong thought about it and suddenly stepped forward. She put her arms around the other party's neck and said with a smile, Chief Instructor, where have you been? Why haven't I seen you for a long time? Fortunately, the other party was the Chief Instructor. Luo Qingtong had already thought of how to make Yi Qianxian stop. His arm was suddenly held in the girl's arms. The soft touch of the girl's body could be clearly felt by Yi Qianxian even through the robe. In an instant, his body stiffened. Then he slowly turned his head and stared at Luo Qingtong with a pair of cold eyes. This woman was actually so intimate with his alias? Not forgetting that he was Yi Luo, Yi Qianxian felt a burst of irritation in his heart. Naturally, he was happy that Luo Qingtong took the initiative. But when he thought that Luo Qingtong didn't know that he was Yi Luo, but was so intimate with him, Yi Qianxian's heart burned. Could it be that she really fell in love with this alias of his? Yi Qianxian's face was full of anger, but his attention was all on Luo Qingtong. And Mo Chenxian was frozen. Mo's legs went weak and he almost fell to the ground. Not daring to stay here any longer, Mo lowered his head and left with a face full of anger and resentment. Luo Qingtong, Yi Luo. Just you wait. His heart was full of resentment. Yi Qianren did not pay any attention to him. He was just a clown and could be dealt with any time. All his attention was on Luo Qingtong now. Are you worried about me? His tall figure approached the young girl. Just as she was hugging his arm, he pulled her into his embrace and looked down at her. He wanted to see what kind of feelings Luo Qingtong had towards this alias of his. Thinking that Luo Qingtong might have fallen in love with someone else behind his back, even if this person was his alias, he couldn't allow it. Yi Qinxian's heart was irritable to the extreme, but his face remained calm. His tall figure covered Luo Qingtong and pressed her body against the tree next to her. "You like me?" Yi Qinxian's face darkened. Luo Qingtong's lack of resistance made him even more anxious. As long as this woman didn't want to, no one could force her. She could have many ways to escape, or even struggle. Chapter 1041. Yi Qianxian was furious. This woman used to run away from him in the past. But now, she was so obedient. How did she fall in love with his alias so quickly? Just because he built a waterfall for her to improve her strength, helped her fight against Su Deheng and the others, and saved her several times? Yi Qianxian was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. Hadn't he done more for her than Yi Luo? How could she not see it? Yi Qianxian was so angry that he had completely forgotten that this Yi Luo was himself. He had done all those things for Luo Qingtong. Just as he was about to explode with anger, the girl he had pressed against the tree trunk raised her hand and hugged his neck. She smiled and said, "I like it. I like it very much. I like you to death." Luo Qingtong said. She suddenly raised her head and kissed him hard on the lips. Then, before Yi Qianren could fly into a rage, she fell into Yi Qianren's arms with a pft, bending forward and backward as she laughed. Pft. Haha. Yi Qianxian, you're jealous of yourself to this extent. No. I'm dying of laughter. I can't take it anymore. Luo Qingtong's eyes glistened with tears. She hugged Yi Qianxian's neck with both hands and hung her entire body on Yi Qianxian. Ha ha ha. Luo. Qing. Tong. The veins on Yi Qianxian's forehead bulged. However, the angry roar that could make everyone tremble with fear only provoked Luo Qingtong's even more cheerful and light laughter. Ha ha ha. Be good, don't be angry. Luo Qingtong smiled and pecked the man's lips. Then, she couldn't help but burst out laughing. She didn't want to expose the fact that she had seen through his identity so quickly. But the man's reaction was just too cute. Luo Qingtong couldn't hold it in any longer. Luo Qingtong couldn't help but laugh when she recalled how Yi Qianxian had asked her if she liked him. This man, was he forcing a confession or extorting a confession? No, she was going to die of laughter. Yi Qianxian hugged the girl who was laughing so hard in his arms that her body couldn't stop sliding down. He immediately freed a hand to hold her buttocks to prevent her from falling. Then, he gritted his teeth and asked coldly, "When did you find out?" No wonder this woman kept teasing him. It turned out that he had already seen through his identity. Yi Qianxian did not know whether he should be happy or angry. He was happy that this woman didn't fall in love with his alias, and all the intimate actions were because she saw through his identity. He was angry that Luo Qingtong clearly knew his identity but didn't say it out. She deliberately teased him and made him sulk for so long. Pfft. Haha. Luo Qingtong laughed and wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes. You can't blame me for that. Who told you to hide your identity and tease me? She made a face at Yi Qianxian. I'm giving you a taste of your own medicine. Actually, she just liked to see Yi Qianxian worried about her but also worried about her. Since he hid his identity, she might as well not expose him and have fun with him. Luo Qingtong said and laughed again. Yi Qianxian looked at her happy and proud appearance and couldn't help but block her lips. Chapter 1042. Luo Qingtong's eyes curved. The moment Yi Qianxian kissed her, she kissed him back. Her personality was strong and evil. Even in a kiss, she didn't want to be in a passive position. Yi Qianren sensed her response and that pair of cold eyes quickly calmed down. The cold air around him also became much softer. After the kiss, Luo Qingtong lazily lay in Yi Qianxian's arms and asked curiously, "Didn't Feng Yu say that you have something to do and won't be back for a while?" Speaking of this, Yi Qianxian's face became slightly cold. He did have something to do. Thinking of Yu Sihuang, who refused to leave the East region, Yi Qianxian's eyes became cold. But when he looked at Luo Qingtong, his eyes quickly softened. Blackfield received the news that someone is investigating my identity and the origin of the Supreme Holy Token, as well as your past. Yi Qianxian's words were concise and comprehensive. Luo Qingtong heard it and knew what was going on. The "I" he mentioned was definitely not Blackfield's Ming Zun. So, it was this Yi Luo's identity? Someone was investigating him and the origin of the Supreme Holy Token? Interesting. Luo Qingtong's lips curled into a smile. Yi Qianxian's identity as Yi Luo just came to the Holy Academy not long ago, and he almost didn't appear in front of people. The only few times he appeared were for her. Under such circumstances, who would investigate his identity? And even her own affairs were investigated. Luo Qingtong didn't need to think to know who did it. Is it Su Deheng and Mo Chenxian? Only these two people had enough reason and hatred to deal with Yi Qianxian and herself. Yes. Yi Qianxian nodded. If he did not receive this news, he would not have left the matter of dealing with Yu Sihuang and rushed back. Since the other party was investigating him, it meant that they had prepared a big plan to deal with Luo Qingtong. They were afraid that he would ruin their plan, so they wanted to confirm his identity and the origin of the Supreme Holy Token. Unfortunately, they wouldn't be able to find anything. Yi Qianxian owned the Black Field, but he still managed to find out his identity and alias. That would be an undeserved reputation. You have to be careful. They might be coming for you. Yuan Ma was disabled, and Su Jinue was lying on the bed, half human and half ghost. Su Deheng hated Luo Qingtong so much that she would not let her go easily. Yes, I know. Luo Qingtong's eyes curved. She liked the feeling of being cared for and protected by Yi Qianxian. Even if she could handle it herself, Luo Qingtong was still indescribably happy when she saw Yi Qianxian put down his work and rushed over just to worry about her safety. She was getting more and more used to this man's care. She didn't know if this was a good thing or a bad thing. The two of them were chatting happily. At this moment, dong, dong, dong. In the Sacred Institute's Pharmaceutical Institute, bells rang one after another. It was Luo Qingtong and Yu Qingwei's battle was about to begin. Or rather, the battle between the first seat of the Pharmaceutical Institute and Yu Qingwei was about to begin. Because of their special identities, they completely represented the strongest students of the Sacred Institute of the Empire of Qin. Under such circumstances, the result of the battle between the two naturally attracted the attention of the entire Sacred Institute of the Empire of Qin. The instructors of the Medicine Institute had specially arranged for the medicine competition arena in the Medicine Institute for the two of them to make a bet. Chapter 1043. Honestly speaking, the medicinal skills of this young man in the Grand Qin Sacred Academy were all extremely miraculous. But most people had no idea. After all, the formulas that Luo Qingtong gave to the disciples of the Pharmaceutical Institute couldn't be leaked. And the medicinal liquid resources that she refined for those students, even if it was 10% better than those refined by the Qingwei group, didn't mean that her refining skills were superb. It only meant that her refining skills were good. But the other party was recognized as the chief of the Pharmaceutical Institute by the Grand Dean and the teachers of the Pharmaceutical Institute. And the position of the honorary chief meant that even if someone became the new chief of the Pharmaceutical Institute, they wouldn't be able to suppress the other party. With all these reasons, everyone naturally wanted to see this mysterious honorary chief of the Pharmaceutical Institute with their own eyes. Dang, dang, dang. Hearing the bell, Luo Qingtong remembered that she still had a gambling fight today. If she hadn't made a bet with Mo Chenxian, it wouldn't have mattered if Luo Qingtong didn't go to this gambling fight. Anyway, she wasn't going to make trouble for the Qingwei group anymore. But since she had made a bet with Mo Chenxian, Luo Qingtong had to go. Thinking of this, she immediately informed Yi Qianren and slipped out of the man's embrace. Then, she found a secluded place to change her clothes before leaping towards the medicine competition stage. Dang, dang, dang. The bell rang louder and louder. At the Pharmaceutical Institute, almost all the students of the Empire of Qin had come. There was a sea of people all around. Everyone was looking at the huge platform in the square. There, Yu Qingwei was already standing on it, but there was no one on the other side. What's that evil doctor doing? The Grand Dean and the others had also come. Except for him and the teachers of the Pharmaceutical Institute, no one knew that the honorary chief of the Pharmaceutical Institute was the evil Dr. Ghost Eye. The Grand Dean and the teachers of the Pharmaceutical Institute had agreed to use Luo Qingtong as the trump card of the Pharmaceutical Institute in that event. Of course, they wouldn't expose her so easily. He came with a group of teachers to watch the gambling fight this time to remind Luo Qingtong to take it easy and not be so serious. Keep a low profile. Don't expose yourself too early. But what's going on now? This girl agreed to the gambling fight, but now she wasn't going to come? But didn't she make a bet with Mo Qinxian and the others? Didn't she lose if she didn't come? Could something have happened to that girl? Thinking of this, the Grand Dean immediately sent people to look for her. But when he was about to call for help, he realized that no one else knew who she was. If he sent people to look for her, right? That last must have been delayed by something, right? She had to come quickly. While the Grand Supreme Dean was thinking about this, on the other side, Mo Qinxian appeared at the place where the people of the Dragon Regiment were standing. His Highness. Everyone from the Dragon group was stunned when they saw him appear with a pale face and cold sweat all over his body. Soon after, someone hurriedly came forward to support him. A member of the Dragon group asked. I'm fine. Mo Qinxian gritted his teeth and waved away the hand of the Dragon Regiment member who was about to help him. He couldn't tell his subordinates that he was shrouded in murderous intent and almost peed himself, right? Thinking of Luo Qingtong and Yi Luo, who dared to kill him, Mo Qinxuan's heart was filled with rage. The results of his investigation were about to come out. When he got the news, he would make the two of them suffer. Chapter 1044. When he saw that there was only Yu Qingwei on the stage, he immediately sneered. That honorary chief disciple, she doesn't dare to come? He said as he looked at Ma Chenyi and the others who were not far away. It seems that Luo Qingtong is going to lose. Imperial brother, you have to be a good witness later. I'm just waiting for her huge bet and the bet of running 10 laps around the courtyard. Mo Qinxian said and laughed loudly. Luo Qingtong's indifference when she heard him say those words before was indeed an act. That honorary chief disciple would be scared stiff when he knew that Yu Qingwei was already able to refine elixirs, right? Knowing that she was going to lose, she didn't even dare to come. Mo Qinxian thought and suddenly felt very proud. His laughter was ear-piercing, and those who knew about the bet between him and Luo Qingtong immediately looked over. If that honorary chief disciple didn't come, Luo Qingtong would really lose. Everyone was thinking when suddenly, a voice suddenly came from not far away. Who said that I didn't dare to come? Luo Qingtong, wearing a gauze hat, came from not far away. Her face was hidden in that thin layer of transparent gauze, and one could vaguely see the beautiful outline of her. But when one looked carefully, they couldn't see clearly. She came from the entrance of the medicine battle arena, and in a flash, she appeared on the high platform of the medicine battle arena. When I came just now, I heard a mad dog barking, saying that I was going to lose, so I was delayed and came late. I'm very sorry. Luo Qingtong smiled at Yu Qingwei opposite her. Hearing her words, Mo Qinxuan's forehead instantly burst with blue veins. He almost couldn't help but jump up and ask who she called a mad dog. But in the end, he forced himself to endure. The other party didn't call out a name. If he jumped out like this, it would only be said that he took the blame. Thinking of this, Mo Qinxian was angry in his heart. He knew that the other party was scolding him, but he couldn't refute at all, let alone reprimand the other party. He was simply suffocating to death. Mo Chinxian looked at the masked girl on the high platform with a livid face. Below the stage, Su Xiaoxiao and the others all knew that it was Luo Qingtong. Seeing that their boss came, they immediately exchanged looks excitedly and all looked at the high platform excitedly. Yuan Hu directly shouted, "Yo!" Some people even said that others didn't dare to come. I don't know if it will hurt to be slapped in the face. Ah. Only a person who was used to admitting defeat would say something like that, right? She didn't know if the person who spoke had always been as cowardly as he made himself out to be. How many times did he admit defeat? Yuan Hu's voice was dripping with sarcasm. Obviously, he was targeting Mo Chinxian. However, he learned from Luo Qingtong and did not mention any names. Chapter 1045. Take it as a punishment for daring to release killing intent on him. A mere chief instructor, that supreme sacred badge might not even be his own. A fox using the tiger's might to intimidate others, and even dared to attack him. Mo Chinxuan's expression was cold and angry, but Luo Qingtong was too lazy to bother with him. She looked at Yu Qingwei and said, "How do you want to compete in this battle?" Yu Qingwei had already walked out from where she was standing. "This battle is only to resolve the grudges between us." She looked up at Luo Qingtong and said, "In that case, let's decide the winner in one go. How about it?" Her goal was not to go against the heavenly demon group, but to resolve the grudges between them. One battle, the winner and loser, was enough. Okay. Luo Qingtong nodded. Deciding the winner in one go, that was what she meant. It was too troublesome to win 2 out of 3. Moreover, Luo Qingtong glanced at the Grand Principal, who was constantly winking at her, telling her to keep a low profile and not expose her identity. Her lips twitched. The two reached an agreement and immediately started. Luo Qingtong stood at her position, but did not immediately start refining. Instead, she looked at Yu Qingwei. In front of the girl was a huge cauldron specially used for refining pills. It was like a huge square, standing on the high platform. The cauldrons in the medicine battle arena were all specially made, so that the spectators could clearly see the changes in the medicinal properties in the cauldron, eliminating the possibility of cheating. Under Luo Qingtong's gaze, the medicinal properties in the cauldron were constantly merging. Until now, everything that Yu Qingwei had done was the steps of refining pills. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows. It was said that Yu Qingwei was already able to refine elixirs, and Luo Qingtong wanted to see how she did it. But she did not expect that the other party had been refining pills all this time. Could it be that she did not intend to use elixirs to decide the winner? If that was the case, then the other party was bound to lose. Luo Qingtong did not intend to go easy on Yu Qingwei. She could let the Yu Qingwei group go after winning. But she could not purposely lose to the other party in a battle. That was disrespect to the opponent. But now, Yu Qingwei took the initiative to propose a battle, but was not going to refine elixirs. Was she that confident? Luo Qingtong was thinking. Suddenly, drawl, Yu Qingwei's voice sounded. She stared unblinkingly at the scene in the cauldron. After the medicinal properties had fused to a certain degree, Yu Qingwei's expression turned serious, and she raised her hand to form a seal. Huh. Looking at the mark, Luo Qingtong frowned slightly. That was an elixir seal. When Yu Qingwei was Yu Qingwei. What Yu Qingwei had refined was clearly a medicinal liquid, but she had formed a pill seal that was only needed for refining pills. Yu, and Yu. Then, under the control of Yu Qingwei's hand, it slowly fused with the medicinal liquid. Interesting. This was the elixir that Yu Qingwei had refined? Luo Qingtong looked at the elixir, which was slowly fusing and producing miraculous changes, and smiled. Chapter 1046. If an alchemist didn't cultivate to the extreme and grasp the essence of the fusion of medicinal properties, it was impossible to control the combination of the violent medicinal properties and the power of heaven and earth when refining pills. The final result would only be a failure at the last step. Yu Qingwei took a different approach and used the alchemy method to avoid the risk of explosion. The refined medicinal liquid also had the effect and nature of a medicinal pill. It was indeed very clever. However, this wasn't a pill elixir. When Luo Qingtong looked at the pill elixir refined by Yu Qingwei and smiled, everyone below the stage looked at the pill elixir that was gradually taking shape in the cauldron. It had an aura different from ordinary elixirs and they immediately exclaimed in surprise. Many people saw the refinement of a pill elixir for the first time and didn't expect that it could be refined like this. Senior Sister Yu is really smart. Yes. However, one must be incomparably familiar with the medicinal properties of the elixir and even grasp the essence of it. Otherwise, even if the power of heaven and earth is introduced, there's no way to make it fuse with the elixir. Just this alone proves that Senior Sister Yu's alchemy skills are extremely powerful. It seems that Senior Sister Yu will win for sure this time. Yes. Senior Sister Yu's move is already the pinnacle of alchemy. In the future, when Senior Sister Yu's understanding of medicinal properties is a little deeper, she might become an alchemist. Unless that honorary chief can refine pills, just refining medicinal liquids, even if he can refine a perfect transcendent grade medicinal liquid, he still can't compare to Senior Sister Qingwei. Yes. Senior Sister Qingwei's pill elixir has already transcended the scope of medicinal liquids. Everyone below the stage discussed animatedly. Especially those students from the pharmaceutical department. Even if they had received the grace of Luo Qingtong's medicinal liquid formula, their confidence was shaken at this moment. After all, no matter how exquisite Luo Qingtong's alchemy skills were, it was still within the scope of an alchemist. But Yu Qingwei's pill elixir at this moment showed the method of transitioning to alchemy. It was clear at a glance who was better and who was worse. Haha. Seeing that Yu Qingwei really refined the pill elixir, Mo Chenxian burst into laughter. He cast a sidelong glance at Luo Qingtong and sneered, "The pill elixir has already come out. I don't know what other methods the honorary lead disciple has to contend against him. If you don't, then admit defeat as soon as possible. I'm still waiting to collect my winnings." When he said this, he laughed coldly and proudly, waiting for the other party to come down with a face covered in dirt. However, Luo Qingtong didn't even look at him. Senior Apprentice Sister Qingwei's strength is indeed formidable. However, what Senior Apprentice Sister refined is not pill elixir. Luo Qingtong smiled at Yu Qingwei. Yu Qingwei was indeed very strong. If nothing unexpected happened in the future, she should become an alchemist. However, what she was refining right now could not be considered a pill elixir. Luo Qingtong's words stunned everyone. If what Yu Qingwei refined wasn't called pill elixir, then what was it called? This is clearly a pill elixir. The Qingwei group's people glared at Luo Qingtong. Don't slander our leader just because you can't beat her. Luo Iran and the others were very angry. They thought that Luo Qingtong said this because she couldn't beat Yu Qingwei and didn't want to let the Qingwei group off easily. This was simply too much. Isn't this honorary lead disciple a bit shameless? Chapter 1047. Pfft. What do you know? I think she's afraid of losing face as the honorary chief disciple, so she deliberately said that. That's right. Don't compete if you can't afford to lose. I'm speechless. Such a person can also be the honorary chief disciple. Did the grand principal and the rest make a mistake? The crowd below the stage whispered to each other. Su Xiaoxiao and the others glared at them for a while. What are these people talking about? How could boss be the kind of person to slander others? If she said it's not a pill elixir, then it's definitely not a pill elixir. As soon as their words came out, they immediately provoked mocking laughter from all around. Pfft, if you say it's not a pill elixir, then it's not a pill elixir. That aura is obviously different from the elixir. And we saw it refined with our own eyes. It's fused with the aura of the elixir. How can it not be a pill elixir? That's right. You heavenly demon group people are also quite shameless. I thought you were not bad before, but now it seems that you're also a pile of trash. All kinds of voices came from all around, making Su Xiao and the rest angry. They knew Luo Qingtong's identity. As the evil Dr. Ghostai, Luo Qingtong did not need to use such a dirty method to slander Yu Qingwei. But without Luo Qingtong's permission, they could not casually say the other party's identity, so they could only secretly sulk. 12 However, just as his voice fell. With a swoosh, the thick smoke on the stage dispersed, revealing the scene inside. In an instant, the pride in Mo Chinchuan's eyes froze. The noise and the surroundings also disappeared in an instant. Everyone looked in shock at the golden-colored liquid in the medicine cauldron with a rich aura. Waves of aura were emitted from it, rising and falling along with the fluctuations of the liquid. A burst of indescribable, refreshing and pleasant medicinal fragrance spread out in all directions. Everyone smelled this aura and looked at the pill elixir, refined by Yu Qingwei not far away. They immediately felt the huge difference in it. Even Mo Qinxian and the others, who harbored the greatest malice and wanted to deal with Luo Qingtong and the others, when they looked at the comparison between the two liquids, they had to admit that in comparison, the liquid refined by the honorary chief disciple could be called a real elixir. If one were to say that Yu Qingwei's pill elixir contained the aura of a pill, then Yu Qingwei's pill elixir could be said to be a medicinal elixir. Then, what Luo Qingtong refined was like the liquid form of a real medicinal pill. The difference was so great that no one could go against their conscience and say that Yu Qingwei's was better than Luo Qingtong's. What the latter refined was true pill elixir. Everyone looked at the cauldron in front of Luo Qingtong. Only now did they understand why she had said that what Yu Qingwei refined wasn't pill elixir. The difference between the two was simply too great. But how did Luo Qingtong do it? Everyone was shocked. Even the students of the Sacred Institute who didn't know anything about alchemy knew that once the refinement process started, it was either a success or a failure. If it succeeded, it would become a pill, and if it failed, it would become a waste. The loud sound on the stage just now was clearly the sign of a cauldron explosion. Why wasn't the cauldron in front of the other party destroyed, but instead refined pill elixir? And the aura in it was already no different from a real medicinal pill. Everyone looked at Luo Qingtong in shock. As for the Grand Dean and the head of the Medicine Institute, they were also shocked. Chapter 1048. I got it. His eyes flickered as he looked at Luo Qingtong, who was on the high platform. His eyes were filled with surprise. You didn't fail. That loud sound just now wasn't a furnace explosion. The Medicine Institute's master spoke frankly, as if he had discovered a new continent. He looked at Luo Qingtong with amazement. You were refining the elixir just now. That loud sound was the sign of your success. He looked at Luo Qingtong and said with certainty, I've read in ancient books that there was a transitional process before an alchemist became an alchemist, and that was to refine a semi-finished elixir. I thought that the semi-finished elixir was refined by Qingwei, and the elixir's aura was integrated into the elixir. But now it seems that it wasn't like that at all. Instead, during the refining process, she omitted the final step of condensing the elixir. The elixir refined like that is the real elixir. Because condensing the elixir is the most important process in refining elixirs. After successfully condensing the elixir and going through the baptism of heaven and earth, it can be called a real elixir. And when an ordinary alchemist becomes an alchemist, this is the most difficult thing to control. I was wrong. I thought it was the fusion of heaven and earth energy with the elixir. As soon as the Medicine Institute's master spoke, everyone knew what was going on with the elixir Luo Qingtong refined. No wonder the other party's elixir's aura smelled no different from a real elixir. That was because the elixir she refined was only one step away from completely forming the elixir. What was a real quasi-alchemist? This was a real quasi-alchemist. She was only one step away from successfully refining the elixir. Everyone was shocked. Only now did they know how powerful Luo Qingtong's alchemy skills were. Yu Qingwei had only grasped a little bit of alchemy. But Luo Qingtong had already grasped more than half of the alchemy ability. Just by looking at this comparison, it was clear who was more powerful between the two. While they were overwhelmed with shock, they did not know that the shock in the hearts of the elders of the medicine institution and the Grand Supreme Headmaster was even more intense than theirs. One had to know that they knew Luo Qingtong's identity as the evil Dr. Ghost Eye, and that she was an alchemist. Under such circumstances, how the hell was she going to transition? She didn't have this transition process. Therefore, if Luo Qingtong wanted to refine the elixir, she could only crush the elixir the moment it was formed. Waste pills turned into liquid. The alchemy prowess displayed here was astonishing. Even those old monstrous alchemy grandmasters wouldn't be able to do this, right? One had to know that in the process of refining pills, the slightest mistake would result in the entire pill being scrapped. Who would dare to play like Luo Qingtong? If word of her actions were to spread, it would be extremely frightening and unbelievable. The two of them were deeply frightened. Then, he was pleasantly surprised. Luo Qingtong's alchemy skills were too frightening. As long as she was here, there the empire of Qin's holy institution's alchemy prowess would be unparalleled. In that event, they would definitely amaze the world and wipe away their previous humiliation. The two of them were pleasantly surprised, but the rest of the Qingwei group were only frightened. Now that Yu Qingwei had lost, their plan to write off their grudges with the Heavenly Demon group had failed. Thinking that the other party would be punished by the Heavenly Demon group for them, the group immediately knelt down and said to Luo Qingtong on the high platform. Chapter 1049. They were going to plead with Luo Qingtong, but the girl was not here, so they could only plead with the honorary chief of the pharmaceutical department. Since the other party stood up for the Heavenly Evil group, she must have a good personal relationship with Luo Qingtong. Luo Qingtong should listen to her. No one doubted that the mysterious honorary chief of the pharmaceutical department was Luo Qingtong. In the eyes of the crowd, Luo Qingtong came from a low-level country, and it was already a blessing for her to have such talent and strength. How could she have such powerful alchemy skills? Their deep-rooted thinking made them never think that the other party was Luo Qingtong. Yes. Luo Qingtong looked at them and nodded. She did not intend to pursue the Qingwei group. It was just right that she agreed to their pleading. She just needed to ask them to apologize. With this thought, Luo Qingtong immediately left. When the crowd in the medicine battle arena recovered from the shock, the masked girl was no longer on the high platform. They were enthusiastically discussing the other party's identity, and where did the Grand Principal find this genius? The Grand Principal and the Grand Principal of the pharmaceutical department were also surrounded. But they kept their mouths shut, and no one asked. The instructors and students of the pharmaceutical department were dying of curiosity. At this moment, Luo Qingtong, who had finished changing, reappeared in the medicine battle arena. She stopped Mo Qinxian and the others, who were pale and wanted to leave the medicine battle arena when no one was paying attention. Your Highness King Wu is in such a hurry, where do you want to go? Could it be that you can't wait to fulfill the bet? Luo Qingtong's voice sounded, and the crowd, who were immersed in the atmosphere of joy, surprise, and shock, suddenly looked over. They saw Mo Qinxian, whose face was ugly, being stopped by Luo Qingtong at the entrance of the medicine battle arena. Only then did the crowd remember that there was a bet between them. Oh my God! There was a good show to watch. Thinking of the bet between Luo Qingtong and Mo Qinxian, everyone gathered around excitedly. Seeing that everyone was looking at him, Mo Qinxian's face darkened. Luo Qingtong, don't go too far. He gritted his teeth and spat out each word. He thought that since the girl hadn't come, he could leave quietly. At that time, when Luo Qingtong and the others came to ask to fulfill the bet, he could make an excuse and say that he wasn't here. In this way, this bet would naturally be over. But he didn't expect that Luo Qingtong would rush over at this time and block him at the gate. This made him extremely embarrassed. Was this woman doing this on purpose? In fact, Luo Qingtong did it on purpose. She had just arrived and saw that Imo Qinxian and the others were about to leave when Su Xiaoxiao and the others were not paying attention, so she deliberately waited for him at the gate. Didn't she catch him at the right time? Your Highness, you must be joking. Luo Qingtong looked at Imo Qinxian indifferently, and the smile on her lips was indescribably evil. She raised her head slightly and looked at him casually with a smile. I didn't propose the bet. I didn't set up this bet. How can this be me going too far? Or is it that you can force me to fulfill the bet, but it's wrong for me to let you fulfill the bet? There's no such logic in this world, right? As soon as Luo Qingtong's words came out, everyone instantly remembered Imo Qinxuan's arrogance when he thought that Yu Qingwei was going to win. Chapter 1050. Under such circumstances, he said that Luo Qingtong had gone overboard. This was a bit of a distortion of the truth, and it was inexcusable. What was more, this bet was indeed set by Imo Qinxian himself. The content of the bet was also set by him. How did it become that Luo Qingtong had gone overboard? He was not forced to bet by others. Everyone thought so, and suddenly looked at Imo Qinxian with indescribable contempt. Although they did not dare to do so blatantly because of the latter's identity, the meaning in their eyes was very obvious. It seems that His Highness King Wu wants to go back on his words. Yes, he is so shameless. He was so proud and arrogant just now. Yes. He wants to run away after losing, but he is so arrogant after winning. Whispers could be heard from all around. Imo Qinxian listened with an indescribable look on his face. At this moment, Ma Qinyu's voice sounded. Brother, it is said that one must accept defeat. I'm afraid it's not good for you to do this, right? The handsome and elegant young man walked out of the crowd with his hands behind his back, followed by a group of people from the Gui Yuan group. He looked at Imo Qinxian, who looked terrible, and said with a faint smile, I will be the witness of this matter. If you don't want to fulfill the bet and want to go back on your words, then I will have to enforce it. I'm afraid you don't want to see such a result, do you? He looked at Imo Qinxian with a faint smile, but the threat and coldness in his words were very obvious. Ma Qinyue would definitely not mind helping Imo Qinxian fulfill the bet, and he would feel more comfortable by then. Imo Qinxian obviously knew this. If he really let Ma Qinyue do it, he was afraid that he would suffer more humiliation than now. With his identity as King Wu, others did not dare to do anything to him, but Ma Qinyue did not have any scruples. Thinking of this, he suddenly gritted his teeth angrily and said, I will fulfill the bet. As soon as these words came out, Imo Qinxian almost broke his teeth. Thinking of how humiliating the bet he made with Luo Qingtong was, he was so angry that his blood rushed to his brain, and he almost fainted to the ground. But Imo Qinxian knew that even if he fainted, Luo Qingtong and the others would wake him up and ask him to fulfill the bet. These two be asterisk cheese. Ma Qinyue, it won't be long before you die a horrible death. And that bitch Luo Qingtong. Imo Qinxian was angry and resentful, but he had to take action. For a moment, the words, I may be asterisk tch, resounded in every corner of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. Imo Qinxian almost vomited blood and fell to the ground several times while running. He gritted his teeth and persevered. However, when he finished running 10 laps and the whole Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin almost knew, he was AB asterisk tch, the people sent by Ma Qinyue to collect the debt for Luo Qingtong arrived. At this time, Imo Qinxian remembered that in addition to the humiliating bet with Luo Qingtong, he also bet a large sum of money with the other party. He bet the whole fortune of the King Wu's mansion, thinking that he could cheat Luo Qingtong and the others. But unexpectedly, Yu Qingwei lost. He was facing a huge amount of money. Thinking of the gambling odds he set, Imo Qinxian was so angry that he could no longer control the surging aura in his body. In an instant, he spat out a mouthful of blood and fainted. Luo Qingtong did not stay in the drug battlefield for long. Chapter 1051. She believed that the other party would naturally teach Mo Chinxian a lesson. It was better to leave it to him than to leave it to anyone else. It was the truth. For the sake of that bet, Mo Chinxian almost tore down the entire martial imperial mansion. But he couldn't do anything about it. Mo Chinxian was so angry that he almost vomited blood. At this moment, Tong Hu and the others came back. "Your Highness, this is the information you wanted." A group of people respectfully handed over the information they had received. Mo Chinxian opened it with a gloomy face and then sneered. "Good. Good." He cheered. "It's just as the master of the Soul Institute said." He sneered and said, "Send this news to the master of the Soul Institute. I want Luo Qingtong and the others to be consigned to eternal damnation." Mo Chinxian had found out that Luo Qingtong didn't have any ice soul imprint talent. She was just an ordinary martial artist. How could a martial artist use Yu Wenma's soul skill? Like Su Deheng said, Yu Wenma must have used a forbidden and evil sorcery. Just this point alone was enough to consign Luo Qingtong to eternal damnation. At that time, the Empire of Qin's Holy Academy and even the Holy Dynasty of the Empire of Qin would not tolerate her. At that time, he would teach her a lesson. Mo Chinchuan's face was cold. He was really screwed over by Luo Qingtong this time. The entire martial imperial manor was almost an empty shell. Not only that, but it also became the laughing stock of the Empire of Qin's Holy Academy. The news of him running 10 laps around the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin and shouting that he was IB*TCH spread out from the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. It almost spread throughout the entire holy capital of the Empire of Qin. When Mo Chinxian went out now, he felt that everyone he met was laughing at him. He was going to be the crown prince of the Empire of Qin and the ruler of the Holy Dynasty in the future, but he had to bear such a stain. He would become the laughing stock of others for the rest of his life. Even if the other party feared him because of his power and status, they could still laugh at him without restraint in private and in their hearts. Thinking of this, Mo Chinxian wished he could eat Luo Qingtong alive. He didn't think that it was because he wanted to plot against Luo Qingtong that he ended up in this state. He would only think that the other party was being disrespectful to him. Mo Chinchuan's eyes were gloomy and cold. After sending the message to Su Deheng, he smiled gloomily. "Luo Qingtong, I'll make you wish you were dead this time." Previously, he had wanted to use Su Deheng to force evil Dr. Ghost Eye to make a move, then think of a way to get the other party to play in his backyard. Even now, he would still do the same. However, after playing with that bitch for a bit, she would be thrown into a brothel. She had caused him to suffer such heavy losses. Naturally, he had to make it up to her. As for Ma Chenyi, Mo Chinxian sneered. Luo Qingtong's incident this time was really an excellent breakthrough point. He didn't need to wait until the future. Perhaps he could pull him down in one fell swoop. At that time, the Empire of Qin and the Holy Dynasty would be under his control. Without Ma Chenyi, who in the royal family would be able to compete with him? When he became the crown prince, and with the help of that grand event, he would enter the realm of his dreams. By then, the old man sitting on the dragon throne would have to give up his position. Thinking of what he had done to the emperor of the Empire of Qin, Mo Chinxian laughed loudly and was very proud of himself. At the same time, in the residence of the Soul Institute master in the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. Chapter 1052. The aura of the noblewoman was not weaker than that of Su Deheng. She had an extraordinary aura. Her entire body, including her red hairpin and jade bracelet, seemed to be a very powerful spiritual weapon. "Jinhua, my daughter." The noblewoman was lying at the head of Su Jinua's bed. She looked at Su Jinua, who was neither a human nor a ghost, with a sorrowful expression. "What's going on?" After crying for a while, she turned around and looked at Su Deheng, who was standing behind her with a dejected look. She said angrily, "My daughter was fine when I left. How did she become like this?" Su Deheng. Is this how you take care of my daughter? She looked furious. Who on earth did this to her? Shen Shuyue did not expect that her daughter would become like this after she was summoned back to the Celestial Palace. Su Jinhue grew up in the palm of her hand. She gave her everything she wanted and spoiled her to the extreme. But today, someone made her look like a ghost. When Shen Shuyue came back, she almost thought that she had seen a demon at first glance. If it weren't for Su Deheng holding her back, she would have slapped her daughter to death with a slap. As the external deacon of the Celestial Palace, she was quite respected in the 4 great holy dynasties. Even if she went to the other 3 holy dynasties, the experts there had to be respectful to her when they heard of her identity. Now that her daughter had become like this, how could she bear it? Shen Shuyue's face was furious. Her gorgeous face, which was like a hibiscus in autumn, now looked like a ghost. I suspect that it's Luo Qingtong. Su Deheng's face was as gloomy as hers. He and Shen Shuyue doted on their daughter. Even if Su Jinhue broke the sky, they would be there to support her. Now that she had become like this, how could he not be heartbroken? He told her about his conjectures and the recent happenings. Shen Shuyue's face became more and more furious. That Luo Qingtong is so arrogant. Shen Shuyue did not expect that not only was her daughter bullied, but her husband was also humiliated. And the Grand Dean and the others were still helping her. When she heard this, she could no longer bear it. She stood up and said, I'm going to waste her now. Let's see what Zhu Feng can do to me. Her face was gloomy. Zhu Feng was the name of the Grand Dean. Shen Shuyue called him by his name, as if she did not put him in her eyes. In fact, it was. The Celestial Palace she came from was a sect in the hidden world, and its ranking wasn't weak. Of the Celestial Palace, Shen Shuyue was an outer court deacon, and she had only killed a student of the Great Qin Sacred Academy. She didn't believe that the Grand Principal would dare to do anything to her. However, as soon as she got up, she was stopped by Su Deheng. No. Su Deheng shook his head. Zhu Feng and Ma Chenyi are not obstacles to us. But that Luo Qingtong is said to be related to evil Dr. Ghost Eye. You also know that behind evil Dr. Ghost Eye is the Black Field's underworld venerable. We must have a good reason to deal with her. Furthermore, my daughter's appearance, which is neither human nor ghost, is very likely caused by that evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Even if it's not, we can only ask him for help if we want to cure her. We can't touch Luo Qingtong now. Chapter 1053. If it weren't for his daughter and the evil Dr. Ghost Eye, he wouldn't have stopped Shen Shuyue. In fact, in his opinion, if Luo Qingtong hadn't entered the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin, maybe nothing would have happened to them. Even if the human-faced ghost sore on Su Jinyue's body wasn't caused by her, it should have been caused by her anger. Not to mention the humiliation he suffered and Yu Wenma's crippling. All of these made Su Deheng wish he could kill Luo Qing immediately. Blackfield's Mingzun. Shen Shuyue was still angry, and she had a feeling that Su Deheng wouldn't give up no matter what he said. However, when she heard the words, Blackfield's Mingzun, her body instantly froze. Shen Shuyue relied on her identity as an outer elder of Celestial Palace to look down on most of the powerhouses of True Spill Continent. But only the Blackfield's Mingzun, Celestial Palace, and even many sects in the hidden world didn't dare to provoke him. When she heard the name of Yi Qianxian, her aggressive attitude suddenly weakened. So, we can only let that little bitch be arrogant? She felt a burst of hatred in her heart. Su Deheng was about to say something when suddenly, Tong Hu and the others asked to see him. Su Deheng let them in. After hearing their intentions, he took the message from them. After he finished reading, his eyes lit up. Okay. After sending Tong Hu and the others away, Su Deheng laughed and looked at Shen Shuyue. Madam, we have a reason to deal with that little bitch now. He said and told Shen Shuyue the content of the message sent by Imo Chenxian. Then he said to her, this time we will force her into a desperate situation. Let her ask the evil Dr. Ghostai to save her daughter. Su Deheng said coldly. Shen Shuyue glared at him and said, "It's rare that we have something on her, of course we have to kill her. You're really old and muddle-headed. Since she has a relationship with the evil Dr. Ghostai, we can force her to let the evil Dr. Ghostai treat our daughter. Who knows what he will do to our daughter? Not to mention, you said that the evil Dr. Ghostai is backed by the Blackfield's Ming Zun. If she asks him to help her, with the Blackfield's Ming Zun, what could happen to Luo Qingtong? Shen Chuyue's Ming Zun's Ming Zun. While it just so happens that in these 2 days, my sect's outer sect elder, Elder Xia, will be coming. When the time comes, I'll ask him to help me mediate and invite the evil Dr. Ghostai from the Black Field to treat our daughter's poison. This way, by the time she knows that something happened to Luo Qingtong and wants to avenge her, it will already be too late. Not to mention, she might not even help Luo Qingtong. After all, who knows if Luo Qingtong is her subordinate? If that's the case, the other party might not offend us for her. Shen Chuyue said confidently. Su Deheng heard this and seemed to agree with her. Then we won't let Luo Qingtong go? We won't let her go. Shen Chuyue said viciously. She caused our daughter to be like this, and your precious disciple. Don't you want to avenge them? When she said this, Su Deheng nodded fiercely. Okay. We'll do as you say. You're tuning into the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.